Chapter 166. Tai Mingfei did not expect Tang Linglong to flare up in public. He was a little embarrassed. He forced a smile and said, "Don't be angry, Linglong. I just want to learn from Master Jiang." Tang Linglong pulled Jiang Tian away. It was Jiang Tian who helped him out. He smiled and said, "Linglong, forget it. Mingfei doesn't mean any harm. Don't make a big fuss. Sit down and eat." "Humph, this time it's because of my master." Tang Linglong was always obedient to Jiang Tian. Only then did she sit down. "Waiter." Tai Mingfei quickly went along and sat down as well. He asked the waiter to serve the dishes. However, when they started eating, Tai Mingfei felt very awkward. Tang Linglong and Jiang Tian were talking and laughing. She also poured wine and dishes for Jiang Tian. It was like a little palace maid treating the emperor. However, she did not even bother to talk to Tai Mingfei. He became more and more suspicious. He was sure that Jiang Tian was Tang Linglong's boy toy. Their master and disciple relationship was just a cover. "Mingfei, you seem to be in the army too?" Jiang Tian saw that he was embarrassed and angry, so he deliberately pulled him aside and asked him about this and that. "Yes, I'm from the Tai family in Yangcheng. The Tai family is a big family in Yangcheng. Many family members work in the army and military industry," Tai Mingfei said proudly. "Tai Minghuang, one of the 4 young masters of Yangcheng, is my cousin. I'm now working in the Fierce Tiger Army. This time, I'm lucky to be a substitute for the Battle Dragon Army and participate in the special training together." "Oh, I see." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Seeing that Jiang Tian's face was calm instead of the shock and awe that he had imagined, Tai Mingfei secretly scolded him for being pretentious. Then he said proudly, "We have invited a Wu Dao Grand Master this time." Then he gave a self-deprecating laugh and whispered, "Haha, why am I telling you all this? You're just a common man in the Jianghu. You only know a little martial arts. How would you know about a master like Master Kong?" "Poochie." Suddenly Tang Linglong laughed. Tai Mingfei felt that the way she looked at him was like looking at an idiot. He could not help but ask in surprise, "What are you laughing at?" When Tang Linglong saw that he repeatedly disrespected Jiang Tian, she was also angry. She pointed at Jiang Tian and said, "Didn't your grandfather and cousin tell you that my master is Master Kong?" Her face was full of disdain as she said, "You really have eyes but can't see. You can't see the real person's face." Tai Mingfei gave Jiang Tian a careful look, then couldn't help but slap his thigh and laugh out loud. "Linglong, you really know how to flatter your master. Master Kong is said to be 60 years old. How old is your cheap master? Your hair isn't even fully grown yet." It was not his fault. Tai Mingfei had a mission in the army and did not attend the banquet of bliss that day. Later, he heard a lot of rumors about Master Kong, but Tai Minghuang and the others were very respectful of Jiang Tian. They usually called him the old man. Later on, the rumors spread like wildfire. The young masters of Yangqing who didn't know the truth all said that Grandmaster Jiang was already 60 years old, had a white beard, white hair, and a youthful face. It was as if it was true. "Haha, you really are ignorant. Hurry up and apologize to my master, or I won't forgive you." Tang Linglong looked down on Tai Mingfei more and more. Her face was full of disdain and contempt. "All right, Linglong, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's eat, let's eat." Jiang Tian saw that Tai Mingfei was so angry that his face was red, so he quickly tried to smooth things over. During the meal, Tai Minghuang's imagination ran wild. He was so jealous of Jiang Tian that the roots of his teeth itched. When they finally finished eating, Tai Minghuang seemed to enthusiastically invite Linglong. "Linglong, there's a performance at the Yangcheng Opera House tonight. I bought 2 tickets. Let's go and watch together." "I'm not going. I want to be with my master." Tang Linglong didn't even look at him. As she spoke, she pulled Jiang Tian upstairs, leaving Tai Mingfei in a mess in the wind. Tai Mingfei sat in a daze for a long time frowning. His face was getting uglier and uglier. He thought to himself that the relationship between Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong was definitely not that simple. He immediately went to the front desk, showed his ID, and checked the room numbers of Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong. He also got the surveillance footage. What? They actually went into the same room? Timing Fei only felt that the top of his head was green and his eyes were red. He asked the waiter for the universal room card and rushed to the elevator. Master, this Timing Fei is too arrogant and frivolous. He has been disrespectful to you time and time again. I don't like it. After pulling Jiang Tian to her room, Tang Linglong immediately frowned and said coldly, "In fact, you still have to look at him from the perspective of development. He is only in his early 20s now. It is inevitable that he is impulsive and arrogant. After experiencing the hardships of life in the future, he will get better." In this regard, Jiang Tian was also very helpless. To be honest, Tang Linglong had already embarked on the road of cultivation with him. In the future, she would become an immortal or a god. How could such an ordinary person be worthy of his beloved disciple? The problem was that Tang Linglong was still a young lotus who had just shown her tip. She could not break away from the secular life yet. From the secular point of view, Timing Fei was worthy of Tang Linglong in terms of family background and ability. No matter what, I will never be with him. Tang Linglong shook Jiang Tian's arm and pouted. She said coquettishly, "Master, you have to stand on my side. My grandfather and father will listen to you. This depends on whether Mr. Tang and your father have foresight. But it is not convenient for me to intervene in your family affairs." Jiang Tian shook his head with a wry smile. Seeing that Jiang Tian was serious, Tang Linglong was also helpless. She suddenly changed the topic and asked, "Master, recently I have always felt that the qi in my body is a little blocked. I can't use the 13 swords of Taishian instantly. There is also a faint pain in my chest. What is going on? Let me have a look." Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and put his fingers on Tang Linglong's white wrist to feel her pulse. Suddenly he frowned. "This is because of the switching of cultivation methods. You used to practice the Howren physical exercise formula. Recently, you have been practicing the 13 swords of Taishian crazily. It is a kind of forced activation of the true essence. There is a mass of qi blocked in several acupoints in your chest, zhongting, and so on." Jiang Tian said lightly, "Master, isn't this very difficult to handle? I heard that the disorder of qi and blockage can even cause qi deviation." Hearing this, Tang Linglong was so scared that her face turned pale. "It doesn't matter. If this kind of problem can be difficult for me, do I deserve to be your master?" Jiang Tian looked calm and said lightly, "Go and take a bath. Wear a bathrobe or loose pajamas. In short, you have to expose your back. I will help you to comb your meridians and open up your qi." To comb the meridians, sometimes it was necessary to expel toxins and excess true qi. Clothes must be ventilated. "Oh, I will go now." Tang Linglong immediately ran into the bathroom. The sound of running water was heard. After a while, Tang Linglong came out. At this time, the little girl was wrapped in a bath towel, revealing her jade-like shoulders. Her skin was as white as milk, and her snow-white breasts were also exposed. She often practiced martial arts and used to be in the army. Although she was young, her body was more healthy and plump than Qing'er's. She was thin in the right places, but the flesh on her shoulders and arms were very strong. After being steamed by the steam, her small face without any makeup looked even more translucent and delicate. "Master, can I do this?" Tang Linglong twirled in front of Jiang Tian. The bottom of the bath towel rose, revealing a section of her snow-white and plump legs. Jiang Tian's heart was as calm as still water in this charming and gentle scene. However, this was the first time Tang Linglong was exposed in such an ambiguous manner in front of her master. Her little face was shy and timid, and her beautiful eyes rippled. "Yes, you can. Meditate on the bed with your legs crossed. I will help you comb your meridians." Jiang Tian smiled and sat on the bed first. Tang Linglong sat down in front of him. She felt a pair of warm hands on her back. Suddenly, her heart trembled and her beautiful face turned even redder. It was as if blood was about to drip out. But then, a wave of steaming hot air flowed into her body, making her feel indescribably comfortable. She couldn't help but moan. "So comfortable, master, I want a little more." Jiang Tian felt a headache coming on. This girl's body was emitting a rich body fragrance, and she was moaning like that. It was really unbearable. However, Jiang Tian quickly calmed himself down and concentrated on pouring his true essence into her body, as if it was free. Moreover, his fingers began to press on the acupuncture points on her back, chest, and legs. With the infusion of true core, Jiang Tian's consumption was not small. He was sweating a lot, and his shirt was soaked. It stuck to his body and was very uncomfortable. Jiang Tian was annoyed by the binding of the shirt, so he unbuttoned it and threw the shirt aside. Comfortable. Master, I can't take it anymore. Suddenly, Tang Linglong's blocked meridians were all opened. An indescribable comfort and satisfaction came like a storm. The surging true core surged wildly in her body. She only felt that her body was full of endless strength, and her delicate body shook violently. There was a loud bang. The bedboard and the bed legs broke, and the two of them were buried together under the quilt. Jiang Tian subconsciously hugged Tang Linglong in his arms. It was like a warm and fragrant jade in his arms. It was charming and gentle. Tang Linglong also hugged Jiang Tian tightly. She enjoyed the fresh and pleasant feeling, and her mind was intoxicated. However, Jiang Tian quickly reacted. He pushed away Tang Linglong, whose starry eyes were half closed, and pretended to be angry. If your meridians are opened, then so be it. Why are you still moving? The bed collapsed. I'm sorry, master. I didn't mean it. Tang Linglong weakly responded. She enjoyed that moment of tenderness and was reluctant to leave. She also felt that it was interesting and could not help but want to laugh. Hurry up and get up. Jiang Tian was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He pushed her away and said, What do you think the waiter will think when he sees this scene when he comes to change the room or the bed? Seeing that Jiang Tian had pushed her away, Tang Linglong did not dare to be too greedy and make her master unhappy. She blushed and said coquettishly, Master, we didn't do anything wrong. What are you afraid of? She was about to get up when suddenly, the door was kicked open from the outside, and Tai Mingfei rushed in. In an instant, Jiang Tian was dumbfounded. Tang Linglong was also dumbfounded. Tai Mingfei heard some strange sounds outside. At this moment, he saw that Tang Linglong was only wearing a bath towel, which was very exposed. Her face was red, she was panting and sweating all over. Jiang Tian was also shirtless, and there was a lipstick mark on his face. Suddenly, a wave of anger rushed to his head. He pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded, You bastard, how dare you fuck my woman? Chapter 167. Jiang Tian stood up lazily. With a trace of coldness in his eyes, he frowned and said, Get out. If it weren't for the fact that he had some relationship with Elder Tang, it would have been a misunderstanding. If he dared to speak so rudely, Jiang Tian would have already killed him. Get the hell out of here. Who let you in? Who's your woman? After a moment of panic, Tang Linglong calmed down. She wrapped a bath towel, stepped forward, and scolded him coldly. Tai Mingfei looked at the big collapsed bed again. How fierce was this? He almost went crazy. The blue veins on his forehead were throbbing. He cursed, Fuck, the bed collapsed. Tang Linglong, you bitch. You pretend to be virtuous in front of me every day. I asked you out many times, but you didn't meet me. Who knew that you were so worthless? You bitch. He didn't expect that Tang Linglong would stand on Jiang Tian's side and scold him so firmly. He couldn't help but be angry. He raised his hand and slapped Tang Linglong. How dare you? Tang Linglong's face turned cold when she saw him attack. Pa. She slapped him, causing the air to explode like firecrackers. Tai Mingfei was sent flying. His nose was bleeding violently, and 3 of his molars flew out. Tai Mingfei thought that Jiang Tian had slept with his fiancée. How could he vent his anger so easily? He got up and rushed to Tang Linglong and punched her fiercely. If the previous slap was just to vent his anger, this time, he was even more methodical. He fully utilized the cultivation of his iron body large success. His punch caused the air to explode, like a cannonball shooting out of a barrel. If it hit an ordinary person, he would be seriously injured, if not killed on the spot. You don't know what's good for you. Tang Linglong raised her eyebrows. She seemed to be slow but was actually fast. She lightly hit Tai Mingfei's chest with her palm. Whoosh! Tai Mingfei's huge body, which weighed more than 180 kilograms, flew out like a rag doll and hit the wall of the corridor heavily. Even the wall cracked. Puff! Blood seeped out of Tai Mingfei's mouth, and his face was twisted with pain. He didn't know how Tang Linglong had become so powerful that he couldn't gain the upper hand at all. However, he was still angry. How could he give up revenge so easily? He pointed at Jiang Tian and cursed. Boy, just you wait. How dare you mess with my woman? I'll kill you. He was immediately called by Tai Ming Huang, who complained about Tang Linglong and Jiang Tian's heinous crimes. After all, Tai Ming Huang was a first-tier young master in Yangcheng. He had more tricks up his sleeves than he did. Cousin, you have to help me vent my anger. My woman has been messed with. If word gets out, how am I going to show my face in the future? What? You said the other party is Jiang Tian? Tai Ming Huang was working in his office. Hearing that, he was scared out of his wits. You son of a bitch. You're in trouble. Cousin, what did you say? My woman was screwed, and I got into trouble? Tai Mingfei was still confused. Was there any justice in this world? I don't have time to explain to you now. Apologize to them immediately. Be sincere. Otherwise, I'll skin you alive. After you apologize, you'll be at their mercy. You can't resist. That's someone that even I can't afford to offend. Tai Ming Huang was burning with anxiety. He roared a few times, then hung up the phone and hurried to the hotel. Who is he? Even cousin can't afford to offend him. Tai Mingfei was scared out of his wits. He knew that Tai Ming Huang had always been ruthless. He was obstinate and self-opinionated. There was once a family member who disobeyed him. Tai Ming Huang broke his legs and kicked him out of the family. Although he was confused, he endured the pain and moved to Jiang Tian. He bowed and said, Mr. Jiang, it's my fault. I apologize to you. From now on, you're not allowed to harass Tang Linglong. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Jiang Tian had already put on his clothes. He sat on the sofa and sipped his tea. What did you say? Tai Mingfei couldn't believe it. He looked up and glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. This kid is too arrogant. How dare he threaten me after sleeping with my fiancé? He was a member of the Tai family and Tai Ming Huang's cousin. In Yangcheng, he could do whatever he wanted. Who would dare to offend him? What are you worried about? Seeing that Tai Mingfei was not convinced, Jiang Tian's face darkened. He waved his hand and slapped Tai Mingfei out of the door. He couldn't even stand up. Son of a bitch, how dare you glare at me? Wait for your brother to come and talk to me. Jiang Tian said coldly. Fine. I'll remember this. Sooner or later, I'll pay you back tenfold. Tai Mingfei gritted his teeth and snorted, suppressing his anger. Tai Ming Huang was afraid that there would be a traffic jam on the road, so he took a private helicopter and rushed over. It only took him 10 minutes. He understood what was going on when he saw the scene. Tai Mingfei was still unwilling to give up. He pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, Big brother, he just hit me again. How dare you point at Master Kong? You want to die? Tai Ming Monarch kicked him in the chest, making him spit out his dinner again. After that, regardless of how Tai Mingfei reacted, he ran up to Jiang Tian like a happy puppy, bowed respectfully, cupped his fist and said, Greetings, Grandmaster Jiang. This kid is really useless. He offended you. Please forgive him. When Tai Mingfei saw this scene, he was so shocked that his jaw dropped. His cousin was so powerful and domineering in Yangcheng. Why was he so respectful to Tang Linglong's boy toy? If he dares to be so presumptuous in front of me again, I'll kill him. Jiang Tian didn't even look at him as he said indifferently. I understand. Tai Ming Huang nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. His face was full of flattery. He turned around and pointed at the bodyguards. Take this son of a bitch out of here and give him a good beating. Cousin, how can you help an outsider? Tai Mingfei roared and struggled. But Tai Ming Huang didn't even look at him. He just kept nodding and bowing, trying to please Jiang Tian and apologize. While he was apologizing, he sighed in his heart. Mingfei, I'm protecting you. If you stay here any longer, you'll probably be killed by Master Kong. If he wants to kill you, who can stop him in this vast Lingnan? Even Grandpa can't stop him. At 8 o'clock the next morning, a military armored vehicle appeared in front of the hotel where Jiang Tian was staying. Two people stepped out of the car, a man and a woman. The man was in his 40s, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He was dressed in a military uniform and exuded an air of masculinity. Judging from his epaulette, he was a colonel. The woman was in her early 20s. She had willowy eyebrows, almond-shaped eyes, and a straight nose. Surprisingly, she was also a major. Xu Wei, is this where he lives? Hilton Hotel, you sure know how to enjoy life. The man furrowed his brows as displeasure flashed in his eyes. That's right. Xu Wei didn't say anything and walked toward the hotel. Sergeant Feng was a master of Xingyi Fist and had reached phenomenal success in internal force cultivation. He was the current head sergeant of War Dragon and had always been arrogant. Xu Wei, I strongly disagree with the General Staff Department's arrangement. What kind of martial arts could a Jianghu man have? He is only 25 years old. What kind of military training does he have? Feng Shiguang furrowed his brows and shouted. According to the information, Master Kong is very powerful. He is the youngest transcendent master in the world, and he is only in charge of martial arts training. Xu Wei said. A transcendent master at only 25 years old? That's impossible. Feng Shiguang raised his brows and said angrily. Do you know what it means to be a transcendent master? There are less than 30 transcendent masters in Wuxia. He let out a wry smile and said, Xu Wei, you still don't know much about the martial arts world. Yi Zhantian was a prodigy. He had reached the internal force level at the age of 18, but he only reached the transcendent state at the age of 38. According to the information, he came from a medical family. How could he have reached the transcendent state at the age of 25? He had seen Yi Zhantian fight once in a while, and he had been amazed and worshipped by Yi Zhantian. Could it be that this kid was stronger than the #1 martial arts genius, Yi Zhantian? Sergeant Feng, this document was signed by Chao Shixiang himself. How could it be fake? Xu Wei said indignantly. Old man Chao's position is too high and he is too busy to be meticulous. It is possible that he was fooled by his subordinates. Feng Shiguang shook his head and said, Of course his subordinates might be exaggerating, or they might have gotten the information wrong. You know how important martial artists are to the military. If the recommendation is successful, you will be rewarded with military exploits. For the sake of military merit, some people would flatter martial artists when they see them and send them information to ask for military merit. Why would they check carefully? Xu Wei hesitated for a moment after hearing Feng Shiguang's words. Then she said, Since we are already here, let's not waste any more time. We will know if he is a martial artist or not when we meet him. While they were talking, the two had arrived at the door. Xu Wei pressed the doorbell and said loudly, Mr. Jiang, we are staff from the General Staff Department and War Dragon. We are here to pick you up. A moment later, the door opened. Jiang Tian said lightly, Let's go. Seeing Jiang Tianyan's light posture and delicate face, without any trace of the stern bearing that a martial artist should have, Feng Shiguang could not help but feel even more disappointed. His heart sank. What kind of martial arts is this kid? Isn't it a waste of time to let War Dragon train with him? He followed the rules of martial arts and said, Master Kong, this is Xu Wei, the liaison officer of the General Staff Department. She is responsible for contacting you. I am Feng Shiguang, the head instructor of War Dragon. I heard that Master Kong has reached the transcendent state at such a young age. I would like to learn from you. Fight here? Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, Forget it, I am afraid that if I fight, I will tear down this hotel. As he said that, he walked out of the door with his hands behind his back. He did not even look at Feng Shiguang again. This kid is so arrogant. He is just boasting shamelessly. Being ignored by Jiang Tian, Feng Shiguang was so angry that his face turned green. He shook his head in disappointment and thought to himself, Martial artists, the stronger their cultivation, the more modest and cautious they are. How can they be as arrogant as him? On the way, Jiang Tian did not even bother to ask about War Dragon's situation. He only curled up lazily in the tall chair. One moment, he would chat with Tang Linglong about entertainment gossip. The next moment he would video chat with Zhao Xueqing on his mobile phone, flirting with her. His face was full of tenderness and sweetness. Even Xu Wei was slightly disappointed when she saw this. This person doesn't seem like a proper person. He's frivolous, unrestrained, and vulgar to the extreme. Perhaps he really doesn't know the martial Dao. Could it be that the information was really mistaken? Chapter 168. In the northern suburbs of Yangcheng, in the depths of Tiger Subdue Mountain, there was a newly built barracks and training ground hidden in the dense forest. The barracks in the northern suburbs of Yangcheng were still very new. It was not big, but it was surrounded by high-voltage barbed wire. There were radars everywhere, cameras everywhere, and satellite signal jamming devices. There were more than 10 of the latest off-road armored vehicles in the parking lot, and a few Valiant Dragon helicopters and transport planes were parked on the helipad. On the mountain road, there were barricades and barbed wire. On both sides of the mountain road, there was a sentry every 5 steps and a sentry every 10 steps. There were many armed soldiers standing straight with vigilant gazes. They were on high alert and were on high alert. At this time, inside the base, on the cement training ground, there were all kinds of training facilities, but the personnel were clearly divided into 2 groups. More than 50 of them were members of the Battle Dragon Special Forces. They stood there carelessly with disdain on their faces. Some of them were even smoking. The other 80 or so were wearing the uniform of the Fierce Tiger Special Forces from the Lingnan military region. They were all standing straight and neat. Tai Mingfei stood among them. The wound on his face had not completely healed. His face was sickly pale and his forehead was sweating, but he gritted his teeth and held on. Mingfei, the atmosphere in Battle Dragon has always been very relaxed. A member of Battle Dragon said to him, I know you want to get the approval of the instructor to join Battle Dragon, but you don't have to be so nervous. Besides, you're injured. You can rest for a while. No. I want to perform well. Tai Mingfei shook his head. His eyes flashed with passion and determination. Last night, he had been beaten up by Tang Linglong for no reason. He had also been taught a lesson by his cousin, saying how powerful the other party was, and that he could not afford to offend them. Tai Mingfei could not understand. What was so great about the Tang family? Why was his cousin so afraid of Tang Linglong and that Jiang guy? He swore to himself that he must pass the test and join Battle Dragon. By then, he would be the king of soldiers in the army. Even the Tang family would not be able to match him. He swore that he would make Tang Linglong kneel in front of him and sing conquer. As for that Jiang guy, his cousin said that he was some Master Kong. He was probably some feng shui master or something. When the time came, he would directly cripple him. That bullshit Master Kong is too arrogant, isn't he? He didn't even want to go to the headquarters in Beijing, and dragged us to this godforsaken place. Suddenly, a Battle Dragon member shouted impatiently. He was 1 meters tall, as tall as a small mountain. His aura was surging and overbearing, and he had a buzz cut. Even though it was early winter, he was still wearing camouflage-colored pants, revealing his bulging bronze-colored muscles. He was full of explosive power and valiant aura, and his pair of bell-like eyes were full of anger. His name was Violent Dragon, and he used to be the captain of the Sharp Blade Squad in the Northwest Military Region. He joined the Battle Dragon Squad after going through many rounds of selection, and he was a true soldier king. His battle record was brilliant, and his military achievements were illustrious. He had once single-handedly taken care of more than a dozen terrorists with a saber. His combat strength was very strong, and he had the cultivation of iron body perfection. Violent Dragon, when he comes, you'll show him who's boss. A few Battle Dragon members laughed and egged him on. Violent Dragon, don't be impulsive. You should know that a soldier's duty is to obey orders. A young man with a fair complexion said in a deep voice. His code name was Fox, and he was the information officer of Battle Dragon. Although he was a technical soldier, he had the cultivation of iron body perfection. Of course I should obey orders. Violent Dragon shrugged and sneered disdainfully, but the superiors don't forbid a normal exchange of pointers. That's right. I heard that the General Staff Department had invited him several times, but they couldn't get him to come. He's so arrogant, he must have some real skills. I heard that he's only in his 20s, and he's the youngest martial arts expert in Wuxia. He must have some skills. That's right, Violent Dragon. It's a rare opportunity for you to exchange pointers with him. You'll definitely learn a lot. Many Battle Dragon members roared with laughter and egged him on enthusiastically. On the surface, they seemed to be flattering Jiang Tian, but in reality, anyone could tell that they didn't believe in Jiang Tian's strength at all. They were all egging Violent Dragon on to show him who was boss. At that moment, a military armored vehicle drove along the mountain path. In the vehicle, Xu Wei was reporting the situation to Jiang Tian. No need. I'm just giving them some pointers on martial arts. I don't need to know too much. Jiang Tian waved his hand. Xu Wei had to stop talking. She wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, she said softly, Master Kong, the members of Battle Dragon are all elites in the military. It's inevitable that they're arrogant and unruly. When the time comes, please. I know. Jiang Tian nodded. He kissed Zhao Xueqing twice and turned off the video. He said calmly, Don't worry this time, I'll make them obedient. Seeing this, Feng Shiguang's face showed a hint of disdain. He shook his head lightly. You're going to suffer this time, you're going to be in for a treat. He's so arrogant, making us wait for so long. When he comes, I'll beat him to death. Fuck, what the hell is this? At this time we should be eating in the cafeteria. It was almost noon, and the war dragons were getting impatient. Some of them even began to curse. At that moment, the military armored vehicle stopped. Jiang Tian walked out of the vehicle lazily. Is this guy our martial arts consultant? When everyone saw this, they were all stunned. This kid had a delicate face and looked like a weak scholar. How could he be a martial arts expert? It's you. In the crowd, Tai Mingfei was shocked. He looked at Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong walking side by side in disbelief. You know him? Violent Dragon looked at Tai Mingfei in surprise. I know him. Tai Mingfei gritted his teeth and said coldly, He's just a gigolo. He's relying on Tang Guozhu from the Tang family. Tang Guozhu? Who does he think he is? He's just an old man. His cultivation is only at the peak of iron body. This kid is relying on the Tang family? What skills does he have? He can't even withstand a single blow. Maybe he's the son of a rich family who came here to make himself look good? The martial arts consultant of Battle Dragon is still very important. When he goes back, he can be promoted to a captain or a major immediately. Immediately, many Battle Dragons shook their heads in disdain and made all kinds of guesses. As a special force directly under the General Staff Department, Battle Dragon was much better than the ferocious tigers. As the elites of Battle Dragon, they did not even care about Tang Guozhu. Naturally, they would not care about Jiang Tian. Are you our martial arts consultant? Violent Dragon walked out of the crowd and twisted his neck. His joints made a crisp sound like popping beans. His tall and strong body emitted an arrogant aura. He opened his mouth and said in a simple but ferocious manner, I'm Violent Dragon. I heard that you're very strong. Can I exchange some pointers with you? I'm not going to fight with you. Jiang Tian shook his head. Haha, he's scared. He's a total coward. He doesn't even dare to accept the challenge. How can such a coward be qualified to be our martial arts consultant? Seeing this, everyone was slightly stunned. Then they pointed at Jiang Tian and mocked him. Isn't that Tang Linglong? Back then, she couldn't even stay in the ferocious tigers. He wants to rely on his status as Tang Linglong's gigolo to become the martial arts consultant of Battle Dragon? Get out. This gigolo isn't even qualified to be a member of the ferocious tigers. How can he be the martial arts consultant of Battle Dragon? How can he? He only knows how to cheat and fish for compliments. This kind of trash isn't qualified to teach us. What martial arts consultant? Pfft, he's worthless. Not only Battle Dragon, but even the warriors of the ferocious tigers could not stand it anymore. Some of them were mocking him while others scolded him. Get out! Tai Mingfei was the first to shout. His eyes were vicious and his face was red with agitation. Get out! Get out! Once someone took the lead, all the warriors immediately exploded and raised their arms to shout. For a moment, the sound of get out converged into a torrent, boiling and soaring into the sky. In the crowd, Tai Mingfei was secretly pleased. So many people are against it. Let's see how a gigolo like you can convince the crowd. How can you survive here? At this time, Xu Wei was extremely disappointed with Jiang Tian. She was a little anxious. Instructor Feng, how can we clean up this situation? You have to do something. Feng Shiguang's face was full of mockery. He shook his head and raised his eyebrows. How can I do something? He doesn't have any real ability. What can I do to make the warriors submit to him? There's nothing I can do. I haven't finished speaking yet. What are you in a hurry for? In the face of the crowd's mockery, Jiang Tian's face was calm and composed. He stood with his hands behind his back and smiled faintly. Violent dragon, I don't want to fight with you because I'm worried that I'll slap you to death. What did you say? I'm a soldier king. How dare you say that to me? Violent dragon immediately shouted angrily. The blood vessels on his forehead were throbbing. He clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds, emitting a terrifying murderous aura. Didn't you hear me clearly? Jiang Tian looked at them with a smile and said indifferently, I said that everyone here is trash. You can't even withstand a single blow. Soldier King? You have the nerve to flatter yourselves. Fuck. Crazy. He's too damn arrogant. Beat him to death. In an instant everyone present went crazy. They were the elites of the country, the kings of the soldiers. However, at this moment, they were being evaluated by Jiang Tian in such a way. It was simply unbearable. In an instant, everyone rushed towards Jiang Tian, emitting a terrifying bloodthirsty aura. They rolled up their sleeves and were about to beat Jiang Tian up. What are you doing? If you have any dissatisfaction, you can report it to your superiors. At this moment, Xu Wei was a little worried and tried to stop them. If they beat Jiang Tian to death, it would be difficult to explain. Therefore, she stepped forward and tried to stop the agitated crowd. Get lost. At this moment, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and waved his sleeves leisurely. He only heard a loud bang, like the sound of firecrackers exploding, and a copious and irresistible force madly assaulted him. Everyone felt the howling wind, as if they were in the middle of a hurricane. They were thrown off their feet, and fell to the ground one after another. In their shaky vision, everyone was shocked to see that. As Jiang Tian's force reached, the military armored vehicle that weighed more than 5 tons 10 meters away spun more than 10 meters high like a spinning top that had been whipped. Fuck this is. Everyone was horrified. Their eyes were wide open as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Their faces were full of disbelief. With a gentle wave of his sleeves, a military armored vehicle was sent flying. This was like a demon. Star River break. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he waved his finger. The demonic flame chi soldier was displayed. A long flaming saber that was 10 meters long swept out like mercury flowing down the ground. Swish. With a bang, the military armored vehicle that could withstand the bombardment of cannonballs was split in half from the middle like a piece of paper. The metal section flashed and was as smooth as a mirror, reflecting the dumbfounded and horrified expressions of everyone. Chapter 169. Boom. Like a thunderclap, the armored vehicle landed heavily on the ground, causing the earth to shake and dust to fly into the air. Then the whole place fell into a terrifying silence. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a god. Their eyes were filled with horror, and they were trembling. So he is Jiang Master Kong, our instructor. Tai Mingfei suddenly understood something. He was so scared that his face turned pale. His lips trembled crazily and he could not say a word. Too powerful. The muscles at the corner of Violent Dragon's eyes twitched crazily. His eyeballs were about to pop out. He who worshipped the strong could not wait to kneel down before Jiang Tian. Is this still the power of a human? Fox was dumbfounded as he muttered to himself. He looked at the armored vehicle that was destroyed by the sword and felt as if he was in a dream. Compared to Master Kong, we are really like ants. Everyone was dumbfounded. They tasted bitterness in their mouths. Everyone's faces were filled with confusion, shock, fear, dejection, disbelief, and all kinds of expressions. That arrogance of a weapon king was shattered by Jiang Tian's light flick of his sleeve, and he was utterly defeated. No wonder he doesn't care about me and my cousin. So this is what he is relying on. Tai Mingfei's blood turned cold faster than cow dung in winter. His body and mind were completely shrouded in despair. Such a godlike existence. Even if he worked hard for 3 lifetimes, he would not be able to catch up with him. Seeing this, Feng Shiguang sighed in his heart and felt a little ashamed. He said with a complicated expression, "Elder Chao is indeed Elder Chao. His eyes are like a torch. This time he has chosen a god for Zhanlong. I, on the other hand, have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I can't see his strength at all." Xu Wei's face was filled with shock. She muttered, "Elder Chao has good eyes. I'm afraid Zhanlong will soar to the sky this time. I wonder if everyone here thinks that they are trash? Do you still want to challenge me?" Jiang Tian asked leisurely. His white robe was spotless, like a god descending to the mortal world. We are trash. I don't dare to challenge Master Kong." Violent Dragon opened his mouth with great difficulty. His voice was incomparably hoarse. "We are trash. I don't dare challenge Master Kong." Everyone present was afraid that Jiang Tian would flick his sleeves and hit them, so they all scrambled to be the first to shout. "I'm so disappointed in you." They thought that Jiang Tian would praise them for being modest and cautious, but they didn't expect that Jiang Tian would shake his head regretfully. What? Everyone was flabbergasted. They were now respectful to Jiang Tian, so how did they provoke Master Kang's dissatisfaction? If you want to become an expert, not only do you need talent, but you also need a heart that thirsts for knowledge and will never give up. What is an expert? That is, someone who knows the gap between them and how weak they are, but still has the heart to surpass others and is full of confidence in becoming stronger. Jiang Tian shook his head disappointedly and said lightly, "Even if you don't have talent, as long as you use your heart to comprehend and study hard, you will train for 100 days if others train for a day, and there will always be some progress." Jiang Tian had seen many giants and experts in outer space. They had no foundation and didn't even have good cultivation techniques, but they worked hard and broke through the void to create a new world. Many so-called geniuses, if they didn't have the heart of an expert, even if they had the support of an empire, sect, or family's resources, they wouldn't be able to reach the position of a mortal emperor or virtuous sage. It could be said that the state of mind was the foundation of cultivation. Whether it was martial arts or spells, it was applicable everywhere. He glanced at everyone and said lightly, "If you all think that you are trash, then no one can change your fate. You will always be trash, whether in terms of strength or spirit. I despise all of you." His words made everyone's faces turn red, and they lowered their heads in shame, but their fists gradually clenched. His words were like morning bells and evening drums, waking people from their dreams. A surge of hot blood boiled in their chests, slowly burning, and finally turned into a soaring heroic spirit. "Now tell me, do you really think that you are trash?" Jiang Tian asked again. "I am not trash." Violent Dragon suddenly straightened his neck, clenched his fists and shouted loudly, "I want to be strong and I can be strong. We don't want to be trash. We want to be the strongest soldier king and war god. We want to defeat Yi Zhantian. We want to sweep the Huaxiaolong formation." Fox and many soldiers shouted loudly, and some of the soldiers suddenly burst into tears. For many years, they had been suppressed by the Huaxiaolong formation in the martial arts competitions and missions. They had more or less given up on themselves. But at this moment, they were enlightened by Jiang Tian, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and the heart of a powerhouse was rekindled by Jiang Tian. "Very good, don't worry. Not to mention that you have some foundation. Even if you are a group of pigs, under my guidance, you will become supreme powerhouses." Jiang Tian nodded with satisfaction. Seeing that everyone was convinced, he issued the first order, "Tai Mingfei, get out." "Master Kong, I won't go." "Master Kong, give me a chance." "Master Kong, I want to be strong too." Tai Mingfei's face was full of unwillingness, and hot tears flowed down his face. He struggled with all his might, but he was still dragged out of the team. Then, Jiang Tian excluded 90% of the soldiers in the Ferocious Tiger Special Forces, leaving only a few elites with good qualifications. Then he issued the second order. He raised his hand and pointed at Tang Linglong. "Now, all of you, attack my disciple together." Yes. The Tyrannosaurus, the fox, and the many war dragons roared in unison, and then rushed toward Tang Linglong. "Little girl, be careful." Violent Dragon took the lead and threw out a punch. Tang Linglong smiled disdainfully, pulled out a wooden sword from her back, and swept it out. Smack! Tang Linglong's wooden sword hit Violent Dragon, so hard that he fell to the ground on his back. His nose was bleeding, and he saw stars. "I'm not convinced," again. Violent Dragon struggled to get up and rushed toward Tang Linglong again. Swish! The sound of the wooden sword piercing through the air was ear-piercing. Tang Linglong stabbed with her sword. Smack! Violent Dragon was directly sent flying 3 meters away. Smack, smack, smack! Tang Linglong performed the 13 swords of Taishian. She stabbed and swept, mercilessly, dozens of times. In the end, everyone fell to the ground. "Get up!" Tang Linglong shouted majestically. Although everyone was in pain, they still gritted their teeth and got up, and rushed toward Tang Linglong again. Seeing this, Feng Shiguang and Xu Wei looked at each other, and saw the admiration on each other's faces. It could be said that not only was Jiang Tian's cultivation strong, but his combat strength was also surging. His understanding of the essence of martial arts was even more shocking. "Instructor Feng, I apply to be reborn and participate in the training with the soldiers." Suddenly, Xu Wei saluted Feng Shiguang and said solemnly. She was also a member of Battle Dragon, but because she was injured during a mission, her cultivation was reduced, and she was sent to the General Staff Department to work as a clerk. But now that she met Jiang Tian, she saw the hope of her own rise again. After the day's training, the entire Battle Dragon's training ground was in an uproar. Everyone was talking about the new martial arts consultant, Master Kong. Why is there such a big commotion in the training ground this morning? Could there be a training accident? Someone pulled Violent Dragon and asked. "Haha, my martial arts consultant, Master Kong, waved his sleeve and sent an armored vehicle flying." Violent Dragon munched on a chicken drumstick. His bruised face was swollen like a pig's head, and his eyes could not be seen, but he was proud and proud. "You are exaggerating, right? He sent an armored vehicle flying with a wave of his sleeve?" Someone came over and said in disbelief. "How can it be fake? I saw it with my own eyes, okay?" Violent Dragon shook his head and said. He waved his finger, and a Qi soldier formed and split the armored vehicle in half. "What? He can split an armored car with his true Qi?" Hearing this, everyone present was stunned. "This should be the peak of internal force." Someone muttered to himself, dumbstruck. "It's not just the peak of internal force." Beside him, the saber instructor named Zhang Lang shook his head and said respectfully, "This is called a martial arts grandmaster. He can cultivate his Qi into a gang Qi and form a sword with a wave of his sleeve. Even the peak of internal force can't do this." Zhang Lang was known as the Killing Blade. His 5-Tiger Gate breaking blade was famous in Battle Dragon, and he was also a master of internal force. When he spoke, everyone was convinced. So strong. Isn't he at the same level as Yi Zhantian? Finally, Battle Dragon has a transcendent grandmaster. The cafeteria was in an uproar. Not only them, but the entire base was also in an uproar. Everyone was talking about the new Master Kong. However, in the next few days, the Battle Dragon soldiers went through the most painful and torturous period of their lives. Every day, they were slashed by Tang Linglong's wooden sword until their flesh was torn open. They grimaced in pain and complained incessantly. Some of them even suffered broken bones and tendons. During this process, Jiang Tian didn't teach them a thing or two. All he did was watch from the sidelines. Could it be that we have offended Master Kong, and he doesn't want to teach us the real martial arts? After one training session, Fox said worriedly, "Sai, it's all my fault. An expert like Grandmaster Jiang is proud and arrogant, but the moment he came, I wanted to show him who's boss. Wouldn't you be angry if I did that to you?" Tyrannical Dragon scratched his head, his face filled with regret and bitterness. "It won't happen." The saber instructor, Zhang Lang, shook his head and comforted. "Grandmaster Jiang must have his reasons for doing this. You must follow his orders and strictly carry them out." Everyone's faces were filled with suspicion. Was that really the case? Or was Jiang Tian just venting his anger? On this day, Everyone was beaten up again. They lay on the ground groaning in pain, and couldn't even get up. Do you know why I asked Tang Linglong to beat you? Jiang Tian linked his hands behind his back and asked lightly. Everyone was silent. Jiang Tian pointed at one of the warriors and said in a deep voice, "Speak." "Because we have offended Master Kong." The soldier named Lu Meng said in a trembling voice. "Get out of here and fight Tang Linglong again." Jiang Tian said coldly. "Master Kong," Lu Meng lamented in his mind. However, he didn't dare to disobey the order. He had no choice but to step forward with his shield and machete. Slap, slap, slap. Tang Linglong sent Lu Meng flying to the ground with 3 slashes. He didn't have the strength to get up. "Tell me why. If you can't answer, you will be beaten." Jiang Tian pointed at another female soldier. This female warrior was called Cheng Tian Tian. She came from a martial arts family, and was at the peak of the Iron Body realm. She had a feisty personality, but she was also tenacious. She had been injured 3 times by Tang Linglong, but she still persevered. Chapter 170. Hearing this, a trace of fear appeared on Cheng Tiantian's face. She blinked her eyes and said without much confidence, "Tang Linglong's every attack was able to break through my flaws. I think Grandmaster Jiang is observing the flaws in our martial arts." For the first time, a gratified smile appeared on Jiang Tian's face. He said, "Let me tell you a piece of good news. You guessed it right." Hearing that, everyone was stunned. Then they frowned and thought hard about the flaws in their martial arts. "Very good. From now on, you are the captain of the Battle Dragon Special Forces." Jiang Tian said indifferently, "Good. Now it's your turn to fight with me." "Ah, Master Kong, I answered your question correctly. Why do I have to fight with you? Moreover, I have to fight with you." Hearing that, Cheng Tian was happy at first. Then her heart suddenly sank. She was so scared that her face turned pale. "I'll let you fight with me. I'll teach you personally. That's your honor," Jiang Tian said with a smile. "Okay. But Jiang Master Kong, can you not hit my face?" Cheng Tiantian's voice trembled as she begged. It was a woman's nature to love beauty. Even the soldiers of the Battle Dragon Special Forces were no exception. Jiang Tian's strength was too terrifying. Even if he held back, if he hit her face, she would be disfigured. "I'll consider it." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Then he slapped Cheng Tiantian's face. Cheng Tian used her agility to dodge, but Jiang Tian's palm was like a maggot in a tarsal bone. It hit her face solidly. Cheng Tian screamed. Her face was red and swollen as she fell to the ground. Jiang Tian said indifferently, "Then do you know where the flaws in your martial arts are?" I don't know." Cheng Tiantian's palms were sweating. She was really afraid of Jiang Tian. "The martial arts you use doesn't have the courage to press forward. You don't have enough courage." Again, Jiang Tian said in a low voice. Cheng Tian got up. She gritted her teeth and preemptively kicked Jiang Tian's carotid artery. "Pa." Jiang Tian raised his palm to block and faintly said, "The cutting neck of the military boxing is also mixed with the lateral kick of the 12 steps of Tan Touré. Not bad, but don't be complacent. You're too slow, and your strength is also lacking." In the past 2 days, Jiang Tian had read all the fist and palm techniques that they practiced. He had also watched their past training videos. Time and time again, he found Cheng Tiantian's flaws and casually gave her pointers. In the end, Cheng Tian persisted for more than 20 rounds before she was beaten to a pulp by Jiang Tian. She fell to the ground and could no longer get up. She could only breathe in but not out. As a reward, Linglong, take her to the medicinal bath. Jiang Tian ordered indifferently, then raised his hand and pointed at a warrior. "Now it's your turn. Pa. This warrior attacked continuously, but Jiang Tian found his flaws time and time again. In the end, he was beaten to the ground and couldn't get up. His calf was fractured. However, after Cheng Tiantian's pointers, when Jiang Tian was sparring with the warriors, all the warriors paid attention to Jiang Tian's every move. The warriors who were beaten down also memorized their own flaws. The others also tried their best to think about the flaws in their martial arts, so that they wouldn't be beaten too badly by Jiang Tian. In the end, all the warriors were beaten to the ground by Jiang Tian, and they also received pointers from Jiang Tian. Go to the medicinal bath. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and turned to leave. Rest for 2 days and carefully think about your flaws. I will continue to beat you up. Jiang Tian returned to the barracks and studied the warriors' martial arts information with Feng Shiguang, Xu Wei, and Tang Linglong. Jiang Tian summarized and corrected everyone's martial arts, and Xu Wei entered it into the computer. After doing this, Xu Wei asked a little worriedly, Master Kong, they are so seriously injured. How are they going to train later? Don't worry about their injuries. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Jiang Tian sipped his tea leisurely and said indifferently, according to my training method, their combat strength will be raised to the long formation level within a month. What? Raised to the long formation level within a month? Feng Shiguang and Chao Jinjiao were stunned. The long formation selection method and scope were completely different from battle dragons. Zhanlong selected the best of the best from the army and taught them martial arts. On the other hand, the long formation members invited experts from martial arts families and sects to join. Everyone was a famous martial arts master. It could be said that any long formation expert could serve as a martial arts instructor for Battle Dragon. You don't believe me? Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, within a month, they will be raised to the level of inner strength martial artists. That medicinal bath is so magical. How did we recover on the same day? Suddenly, 7 or 8 warriors rushed into the barracks and shouted excitedly. They looked at Jiang Tian with reverence. They were the warriors who were seriously injured during today's training. The light injuries were lacerated, and the serious injuries were broken bones and ruptured internal organs. However, after a night of medicinal bath, all the injuries were healed by the next day. Moreover, they felt that their physique had become stronger. This is my unique prescription. It is called Tyrant Body Spiritual Liquid. Jiang Tian said indifferently, not only does it have a super strong healing effect, it can also strengthen your muscles and bones. It can even strengthen your meridians and acupoints. Within a month, ordinary people will become Iron Body, and Iron Body will be promoted to inner strength. So magical. No wonder Master Kong is so confident. It turns out that he has a secret prescription. Looking at the lively people, Xu Wei and Feng Shiguang were shocked silly. Then, a burst of confidence spontaneously arose. In fact, if Jiang Tian only improved the flaws in their martial arts, it would be difficult to say that their cultivation would be promoted to the level of inner strength. However, with the help of such a magical medicinal bath, it was very possible. Before they didn't believe Jiang Tian's bold words. However, after seeing this miracle, they had no choice but to believe it. In the next few weeks, Jiang Tian only occasionally went to the training ground to take a look. Most of the time, he was in Linzhou accompanying Zhao Xueqing. Jiang Tian was also ruthlessly beaten by Tang Linglong. Just like Jiang Tian, they were often beaten until their heads were broken and their muscles were broken. However, the more injured the warriors were, the more Tyrant Body Spiritual Liquid they absorbed. Not only would there be no sequelae, but their physique would also become stronger. The last day had arrived. Jiang Tian came to the training ground and glanced at the crowd. He smiled with satisfaction and said, "Who dares to challenge me?" "Me." Violent Dragon was the first to speak. His voice was like rolling thunder. However, it was different from the first time they met. At this time, his face was filled with respect and his body was as straight as a javelin. In fact, Violent Dragon's talent was not bad. However, he was also the biggest thorn in the War Dragons. He was proud and arrogant. Previously, he had beaten an instructor away. It was only when he met Jiang Tian that he was enlightened. Like a person waking up from a dream, he realized his shortcomings and the gap between them. These days, he had been diligently studying and practicing according to Jiang Tian's guidance. He had benefited a lot. He also understood Jiang Tian's good intentions. "Very good. It's you who needs a beating again." Jiang Tian smiled and hooked his finger at him. Hearing this, Violent Dragon's face turned red. He then respectfully bowed to Jiang Tian and cupped his fist. "Master Kong, please guide me." This sentence was completely sincere. "Stop talking nonsense and dilly-dallying." Jiang Tian smiled lazily. Sorry to offend. Violent Dragon roared and then attacked with all his strength. His whole body was like a tank. He rushed toward Jiang Tian and kicked at Jiang Tian. His momentum was like a fierce tiger and dragon. A fierce inner strength broke through the air and exploded in the air, causing the void to become blurry. Not bad, you've successfully advanced to inner strength. Jiang Tian still had a faint smile on his face, but a kick to the groin had already arrived. Bang! Bam! Violent Dragon immediately fell to the ground and could not get up. He covered his crotch and rolled on the ground. The veins on his forehead were popping and tears were flowing out. Master Kong Yu. Violent Dragon, this can you still get married? Everyone present was in a dilemma. They felt that Jiang Tian's fighting style was too sinister. Jiang Tian said indifferently, fighting on the battlefield is ever-changing. There is only one goal. To kill the opponent, regardless of the method. This move of yours seems domineering and fierce, but you don't know how to open the door. Not to mention me. Even an ordinary warrior can knock you down if he finds your loophole. Although he said that, he did not show any mercy with his feet. He kicked Tyrannosaurus until he was rolling on the ground. Next, Jiang Tian kicked Violent Dragon out of the circle like a football, and then said to the other war dragons. Another warrior jumped out, but he was also slapped by Jiang Tian. He was sent flying to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time. Your moves are too slow. You have a fancy move. It looks good, but it's not practical. Jiang Tian stomped his foot and broke the kid's leg bone. Just like that, Jiang Tian knocked them down one by one and sent them to the logistics medical center. They were soaked in the medicinal pool and bathed in the medicinal bath. Sigh, we are really useless. I thought that we had improved a lot in the past month, but I didn't expect that we would still be defeated by Master Kong. Violent Dragon sighed helplessly and dejectedly as he soaked in the dark green medicinal liquid. Yeah, I thought I'd be fine after breaking through to the inner force stage. Who would have thought that Grandmaster Zhang's slap would break my cheekbone? Cheng Tian was wearing a camouflage vest and soaking in the medicinal liquid. She touched her swollen cheeks and said gloomily. As she soaked in the medicinal liquid, waves of powerful medicinal properties entered her body. Her injured parts were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yeah, I'm afraid that we won't be able to catch up to Master Kong for the rest of our lives. Countless war dragons shook their heads and sighed. Their faces were filled with dejection and helplessness. You guys did well. According to my observation, more than 80% of you can use your inner force. Just as everyone was feeling dejected, Jiang Tian walked in lazily with his hands behind his back and said calmly, Master Kong, that's true. But there's still a big gap between us and you. Fox said with a complicated look in his eyes. In the past month, under the guidance of Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong, they had improved rapidly. Almost all of them had broken through 1 or 2 levels. They had broken through from the early Iron Body stage to the late Iron Body stage. Violent Dragon and the others, who were originally at the peak Iron Body stage, directly stepped into the inner force stage. However, compared to Jiang Tian, they could not help but feel a little discouraged. The gap between them was still too big. You want to compete with me? You're really daring. Jiang Tian slapped the back of Fox's head and scolded jokingly. Do you know how many Wuxia people have reached my level of cultivation? Yeah, actually, we're already very satisfied to be able to reach today's level of cultivation. Fox scratched the back of his head and said embarrassedly. Haha, we don't even dare to compete with Master Kong. We shouldn't even think about it. Everyone agreed embarrassedly. Jiang Tian's gaze swept across their faces one by one. A hint of kindness appeared on his face. After more than 30 days and nights together, Jiang Tian already had some feelings for them. In the end, he said in an old-fashioned manner, Children, training is officially over. I won't be coming again tomorrow. What? As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned on the spot. Their faces were filled with disbelief, and they could not accept it. Chapter 171. After spending so much time with Jiang Tian, they were already used to Jiang Tian's existence. They never thought that Jiang Tian would leave so soon. Master Kong, are you leaving? With a splash, the sound of water splashing could be heard. Violent Dragon stood up and said with a trembling body, "Yes, all good things must come to an end. My fate with you has come to an end." Jiang Tian looked at him with satisfaction. These days, Violent Dragon's progress was the fastest. "Master Kong, can you not leave?" Violent Dragon clenched his fists and stood there with his head deeply hooked. Suddenly he clenched his fists and sobbed silently. "Yes, Master Kong, don't go. We can't bear to part with you." All the war dragons stood up together and shouted loudly. Many of them had tears on their faces. "Master Kong, don't go, we beg you. You can use any more ruthless way to train us." Cheng Tian cried until she was out of breath. Her tears rolled down and couldn't be wiped clean. "Master Kong, is it because our performance didn't satisfy you? We will double our efforts." Fox choked with sobs with a pleading face. Men didn't cry easily, not to mention that they were the toughest group of soldiers in the world. They didn't cry when their bones and tendons were broken during cruel training. They didn't cry when they fought on the battlefield and braved the hail of bullets. They didn't cry when their comrades were injured or even killed in battle. But at this moment, they were all crying and couldn't control their tears. Martial arts cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. It was too difficult to advance. Many martial artists, even if they were backed by a sect or a family, had the support of a huge amount of cultivation resources. It was considered very lucky to be able to break through a level in 3 to 5 years. However, all of them only took a month to break through. It could be said that this kind of progress was something they didn't even dare to think about. Moreover, they also understood the preciousness of the tyrant body spiritual liquid. They were afraid that a barrel would cost more than 1 million, and they had used more than 10 barrels in a month. Therefore, no matter how cruel Jiang Tian's training methods were, they were still grateful. Now that they heard that Jiang Tian was leaving, how could they bear it? "I'm just your martial arts consultant, a non-staff member." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "The agreement with your leader is only for a month, and it's already been a few days. I have to go." That night, Zhan Long held a farewell dinner for Jiang Tian and Tang Linglong. The conditions were very simple and crude. On the cement training ground, there were about 10 tables. Large basins were filled with all kinds of dishes, and army green enamel teacups were filled with lao baigan. The battle dragons were all gathered together. Even Tang Hongtu represented the General Staff Department to attend the farewell banquet. At the farewell banquet, the war dragons drank too much. Many of them shed tears of reluctance. "Master Kong, a teacher for a day is a father for life. No matter how you look at us, in our hearts, you will always be our master." Violent Dragon stood up and said passionately, "From now on, if Master Kong has any orders, as long as Zhan Long can help, everyone will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation." "Yes, Master Kong, just a word from you. Even if it's a mountain of swords, we will go up. Even if it's a sea of fire, we will wade through it." Many of the war dragons stood up and said with reverence and gratitude. Many of them had tears in their eyes. This was the style of the iron-blooded soldiers. They worshipped the strong and valued relationships and loyalty the most. They had already regarded Jiang Tian as their most important mentor and helpful friend. They raised their wine glasses and shouted at the top of their lungs, "To Master Kong!" Their voices were like rolling thunder, soaring to the sky, as if even the stars in the sky were shaken. "Sigh, I've been an instructor in Zhan Long for 3 years, but it's not as good as Master Kang's 1 month of teaching here." Feng Shiguang was deeply moved, and his expression was complicated. He admired and envied Jiang Tian, but more than that, he felt gratified. The war dragons of today were no longer the same as before. Their strength had increased greatly, and they could even compete with the Long formation. More importantly, all the soldiers had the heart of a strong warrior, which would benefit them for the rest of their lives. "Isn't that right? I'm so envious." Zhang Lang also nodded in agreement. "TSK, do you guys have to have the same ability as him?" Xu Wei smiled, and her eyes were full of ridicule. "Sigh, to be honest, I didn't expect Master Kang's training to be so effective. From now on, Master Kong can be called the new war god of the army." Tang Hongtu looked at Jiang Tian, who was surrounded by many war dragons like stars surrounding the moon, and let out a long sigh. Halfway through the banquet, Zhang Lang pulled Jiang Tian to a secluded place and whispered, "Master Kong, I have a presumptuous request. Brother Zhang, according to our age, we should be friends of the same generation. You don't have to be so polite." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He had a good impression of Zhang Lang. This person was simple and honest, and he was obsessed with martial arts. He was known as a saber fanatic. Although he had already reached the level of internal force, he had been diligent in his training. Now he was not only proficient in one saber technique, but also in many saber techniques such as the 8 Gates Golden Lock Saber, Tai Chi Saber and Plum Saber. No. You're a master. Even if I'm a few years older than you, you're still my senior in my heart. Zhang Lang was flattered by Jiang Tian's courteous treatment. He quickly cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Master Kong should know about the Martial Arts Alliance conference in a few days, right?" "Yes, I've heard about it." Jiang Tian nodded. "I'd like to invite Master Kong to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference as the Zhang family's honorary elder. May the Zhang family hold our heads high." Zhang Lang bowed deeply and said with a pleading face. It turned out that the Zhang family of the Five Tiger Village in Yun State, where Zhang Lang was from, had their eldest brother killed in the arena during the last Martial Arts Alliance conference. The Zhang family was disgraced and their status plummeted. Over the past 5 years, the Zhang family had been enduring hardships to regain their former glory. However, there was not a single transcendent master in the entire Zhang family. Therefore, Zhang Lang wanted to ask Jiang Tian to act as external help to avenge their humiliation and take revenge. "Oh, I see. Forget about the title of honorary elder, but I can still help you hold the fort." Jiang Tian had wanted to go to the Martial Arts Alliance conference, but he only wanted to look for people with special abilities and find out about the DNV flower. He was not there to fight for supremacy. However, he had a good impression of Zhang Lang, and it would be a piece of cake for him to help out once. Therefore he agreed. "Master Kong, I'll never forget your great kindness." Zhang Lang did not expect Jiang Tian to agree. He could not help but be overjoyed. He kowtowed excitedly. "Zhang Lang, is this the Master Kong you wanted to invite?" Right at this moment, a voice that was full of energy suddenly shouted out like a great bell. Jiang Tian turned to look. An old man walked over slowly, surrounded by a few young men and women with extraordinary auras. These people were all wearing training clothes, leggings, belts, and long sabers with red tassels on their backs. It was obvious that they were standard martial artists. When Zhang Lang saw the old man walking over, his face immediately showed deep fear and respect. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Second Grandpa, you're here. Old leader, you're here. Welcome." Even Xu Wei and Feng Shiguang did not dare to be negligent. They went forward to greet the old man. The old man was in his 60s. His breathing was long, and his steps were steady. It was obvious that he was a martial artist. The old man's name was Zhang Wendao. He was the current head of the Five Tiger Village Zhang family, the 12th successor of the Five Tiger Gate-breaking saber technique. He was the brother of Zhang Lang's grandfather. He had perfected his inner strength cultivation and was in charge of the family. Moreover, he was worried about Zhang Long's saber instructor, who was quite famous in Wuxia's martial arts world. "Hee, what old leader? I've already retired many years ago. I'm here for some personal matters." Zhang Wendao nodded proudly. Behind him was a pair of young men and women. The man was tall and had an aura like a dragon or tiger. The woman was dressed in training clothes and had a pretty face. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail. They were Zhang Wendao's son and daughter, Zhang Qitian and Zhang Mingli. Seeing that they seemed to have some private matters to discuss with Jiang Tian, Xu Wei and Feng Shiguang also left politely. At this time, Zhang Wendao glanced at Jiang Tian and showed a bit of disappointment. He said lightly, "This is the martial arts consultant hired by Zhang Long. I don't see anything strange about him. He wants to be our Zhang family's guest?" Jiang Tian's concealment skills had reached the stage of perfection. Usually, his sharpness was restrained and his true qi did not leak out at all. He was not like an ordinary martial artist. In Zhang Wendao's eyes, he was just an ordinary person. Zhang Lang was anxious when he heard this and hurriedly said, "Second Grandpa, you must not underestimate Master Kong. Master Kong is a real transcendent master. This is the first time I've seen such a young transcendent master." "Transcendent master? Second brother, what are you joking about? As the saying goes, transcendent masters are like dragons. Which transcendent master doesn't have a surging aura like the abyss and the sea?" The tall young man behind Zhang Wendao sneered and said, "In my opinion, he is at most the peak of iron body." Zhang Qitian had learned the true skills of Zhang Wendao and had reached the peak of internal force cultivation. In the future, he would be in charge of the family, and his strength was stronger than Zhang Lang's. He had been practicing hard for the past few years because he wanted to be the champion in the Martial Arts Alliance Conference and make a name for his family. But he didn't expect that Zhang Lang would actually propose to let some bullshit Grandmaster Jiang take his place a few days ago. He who was proud and arrogant was already filled with anger. Now that he saw that Jiang Tian was ordinary, how could he not ridicule him? "Third brother, be careful with your words." Zhang Lang almost went crazy when he heard this. He frowned and shouted, "Master Kong just sent an armored car flying a few days ago and slashed it with a chi weapon. How can his strength be something you can imagine?" The Zhang family did not believe him at all. It was impossible for a transcendent master to exist before the age of 30. "Forget it, Zhang Lang. Since the Zhang family has not come to an agreement, then let's forget about this." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and walked outside. He had always been indifferent. Seeing that they showed no respect or gratitude, how could he be in the mood to fight for the Zhang family? "Master Kong, I am so sorry." Seeing this, Zhang Lang's face was full of regret. He knew that the Zhang family had missed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. However, his family members were so rude to Jiang Tian. How could he still have the face to beg Jiang Tian? "Kid, stop right there." However, Zhang Qitian was not done yet. He pointed at Jiang Tian and said arrogantly, "Don't you know that my father is a martial Dao master, a transcendent master of internal force? Don't you know how to kowtow to your senior?" Zhang Wendao stood there with his hands behind his back. His face was calm and his eyes were full of arrogance. He seemed to think that it was natural for Jiang Tian to kowtow to him, and was waiting for Jiang Tian to kowtow to him. Chapter 172. What kind of senior is he? He doesn't even deserve to be my disciple. Jiang Tian walked lazily as if he was taking a stroll in the park and lightly shook his head in disdain. "Brat, you are so arrogant. Are you crazy? How dare you be so disrespectful to our master? Who do you think you are? How dare you boast so shamelessly?" Many Zhang family members and disciples shouted one after another. They were so angry that their faces were red, and their lungs were about to explode. "What is going on? You all dare to insult Master Kong? Are you all crazy?" Seeing that Zhang family members were criticizing Jiang Tian, many Battle Dragon members were confused and walked over one after another. Many of them were already furious. Master Kong is indeed an expert. Zhang Qitian's face was extremely gloomy and unsightly. He pointed at Jiang Tian and said proudly, "Arrogant words, engulfing the sun and the moon. That's fine too. Junior would like to experience your brilliant moves." "You are not worthy." Jiang Tian lightly shook his head and said with a disdainful gaze, "I am not worthy." Zhang Qitian went into a daze for a moment, then said with a mocking smile, "Then, who do you think is qualified to compete with his honor? Could it be that you want my father to personally make a move? He is also not worthy." Jiang Tian lightly shook his head and said with his hands behind his back and a calm expression on his face, "What? Brat, you are too arrogant. You have no one in your eyes." Zhang Qitian's expression changed drastically, and he clenched his fists in anger. He wished that he could tear Jiang Tian into pieces right now. "Hehe, brother, why are you being so calculative with him? He is clearly afraid of you and doesn't dare to make a move because he is afraid of losing face." Zhang Mingli's face was filled with ridicule as she resentfully shook her head and said with disdain, "Sai, I am so disappointed. I never thought that after Master retired, Battle Dragon would fall to such a state." "That's right, Hiring such a coward as a martial arts consultant is simply destroying one's own future. Feng Shiguang, Xu Wei, and the rest of you are still shouting the slogan of building a second Long formation. I think that even if you wait another 100 years, you won't be able to beat the Long formation. Many members of the Zhang clan only took it that Jiang Tian didn't dare to accept the challenge, and all of them started to ridicule him in disdain. Even Xu Wei and Feng Shiguang were affected. For a time, the sounds of ridicule and reprimand were endless. On the other hand, Jiang Tian picked up a glass of white wine and sipped it silently. It seemed that he had nothing to say and was too ashamed to see anyone. Zhang Qitian also thought so, and was no longer angry. Instead, he said with a face full of ridicule, "Brat, you're really arrogant. If my father isn't worthy of fighting with you, then who do you think is?" Wuxia is so big, but there are only a few people. Jiang Tian sipped his wine and smiled. Only someone like Yi Zhantian, the leader of the Long formation, or Lin Zhenyu, the leader of the Big Circle. What? Yi Zhantian, Lin Zhenyu. The members of the Zhang clan were all stunned. They couldn't believe it and started to bark like wild dogs whose tails had been stepped on. "Brat, do you know what kind of people they are? Lin Zhenyu is the most powerful man in the Big Circle. Yi Zhantian is a rare cultivation genius, the only one in 100 years who has the potential to step into the immortal state in his lifetime. How dare you say that only they are qualified to fight with you? Who do you think you are?" "That's right." Jiang Tian picked up a peanut and slowly removed the red color on his coat. He stuffed it into his mouth and ate it with relish. "Master Kong is so domineering." Hearing this, Xu Wei, Feng Shiguang, Zhang Lang, and the other battle dragons were all shocked. Thinking about how Jiang Tian had swept away the armored vehicle with a wave of his sleeve, they couldn't help but be fascinated and admire him. This guy is boasting shamelessly. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. But the members of the Zhang clan didn't see it with their own eyes, so they didn't believe it at all. They only thought that Jiang Tian was talking nonsense. At this time, Zhang Wendao was completely disappointed with Jiang Tian. He shook his head and said, "As a martial artist, the stronger their cultivation, the more they will realize their own shortcomings. He is so arrogant that he doesn't even take the most powerful man in the world seriously. He is obviously a fool who sits in a well and looks at the sky. Why are you talking nonsense with him?" Zhang Qitian slowly unsheathed his treasured saber from behind his back. He pointed the shiny blade at Jiang Tian and grinned. "Such a reckless fool. Today, I will beat him until he knows what a real martial artist is. Kid, draw your sword." The back of this sword was inlaid with purple gold. It was very wide and unusually heavy, but the blade was as thin as a cicada's wing. It was so sharp that it could cut through hair. The lacquer on the hilt was peeling off, exuding a sense of vicissitudes. The snow wave golden backsword was made by the Lu clan fort's master, Lu Yezi. Back then, the Zhang clan's ancestors had relied on this sword to kill countless experts and swept through Huaxia's martial arts world. "Master Kong, fight him." Seeing that the other party was repeatedly disrespectful to Jiang Tian, Violent Dragon was so angry that his eyes turned red. He pulled out a sharp machete and handed it to Jiang Tian. "Master Kong! Master Kong, make your move!" Many war dragons shouted loudly, unable to tolerate their blasphemy toward Jiang Tian. "Elder Zhang, please stop him. Qi Tian will definitely be at a disadvantage against Master Kong." Seeing this, Xu Wei and Zhang Lang were anxious and went forward to persuade him. Old Zhang is too arrogant. Someone should take him down a peg or two." However, Feng Shiguang rubbed his chin and smiled without saying a word. Deep in his eyes, there was a hint of gloating that was hard to detect. War dragons were ace elites, and many of them were eyeing their positions. Feng Shiguang and Zhang Wendao had some conflicts and disagreements. Sure enough, Zhang Wendao was unmoved by the persuasion. He smiled faintly and said, "Xu Wei, in a martial arts competition, don't go overboard. This will improve Master Kong and Qi Tian." You think you are qualified to use a sword?" Jiang Tian pointed at the silk belt on Tang Linglong's waist. The latter quickly took it off and handed it to Jiang Tian. "Kid, you are too arrogant. Die." Seeing this, Zhang Qitian was so angry that he almost went crazy. With a roar, he stomped on the ground with his right foot and rushed toward Jiang Tian like a mad dragon. Everyone was shocked to see that a large part of the ground made of special cement was caved in by Zhang Qitian's stomp. Is this the strength of a phenomenal success inner force? This is terrifying. It was unknown just how many people were sighing in amazement. Their faces became deathly pale, horrified to the extreme. Zhang Qitian held the blade with both hands and hacked at Jiang Tian's head. The long blade carried a gust of wind that made it difficult for people to breathe. White Tiger leaps through the stream. Senior apprentice Brother Qi Tian's saber can even break a steel plate. Humph, this kid is dead meat. He underestimated his opponent too much. Even if he was a transcendent state fighter, he would still be killed by this attack, not to mention that he was only at the peak of the iron body state. Yeah, that's the Snow Wave Golden Back Blade. It can even break through a Grandmaster's true Qi defense. Many members of the Zhang family's Five Tigers sect-breaking saber sect looked at Zhang Qitian with admiration and admiration. They despised Jiang Tian. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was as good as dead. Well, this kid has already grasped the essence of the Five Tiger sect blade. Even Zhang Wendao nodded approvingly as a pleased smile appeared on his face. But before his smile could fully blossom, it suddenly froze on his face, and he could no longer smile. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Jiang Tian cracked a smile and raised the ribbon in his hand. Puff. Jiang Tian swung it down. At this moment, the ribbon was infused with Jiang Tian's abundant Zhen Yuan, and actually became perfectly straight, becoming the sharpest saber in the world. The blade's sharpness was indescribable. It was as if Pan Gu had split open Hongmeng with a giant axe and created a new universe. Shit! Zhang Wendao and the others' faces paled as they shouted. They wanted to save Zhang Qitian, but it was too late. Zhang Qitian also felt the sharp blade qi and was alarmed. However, he only had enough time to raise the blade above his head to block the attack. Kutch! A crisp crack sounded. The heirloom of the Zhang family, the Snow Wave Golden Back Blade made by a Grandmaster, broke like a piece of paper. The ribbon in Jiang Tian's hand didn't lose its momentum, but it smashed onto Zhang Qitian's shoulder. Zhang Qitian only felt an irresistible force as if Mount Tai was pressing down on his shoulder. He fell to the ground like a toad with blood flowing out of his 7 orifices, and passed out instantly. The cement ground cracked with his palms and knees as the center, spreading like a spider web. It was a shocking sight. Jiang Tian, you're so cruel. Zhang Mingli and many other members of the Zhang family screamed as they pointed at Jiang Tian, and shouted angrily. Zhang Qiming was their most respected senior brother, and in the future he was even expected to step into the master realm and become a seated candidate to take charge of the family. However, at this moment he was actually severely injured by Jiang Tian to the point of fainting. Master Kong won. So beautiful. Meanwhile, the members of Battle Dragon cheered as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Master Kong is so powerful. That was an instant kill. Even Xu Wei and Feng Shiguang were shocked. They had expected Zhang Qitian to lose, but they didn't expect him to lose so miserably. He couldn't even withstand one attack. What is this? You guys are so ignorant. My master can even kill a transcendent master. Tang Linglong was already used to Jiang Tian's strength. She curled her lips and did not find it strange at all. She thought to herself that her master had dominated the Shenong school and killed many transcendent masters. Shut up. However, Zhang Wendao was so scared that his face turned pale. He pointed at a group of disciples and shouted at them. Jiang Tian infused his true essence into the ribbon and turned it into a peerless divine weapon. He had reached the transcendent master realm and was able to injure his enemies with a single blow. A transcendent master should never be humiliated. If these disciples dared to offend Jiang Tian, there was nothing they could do if Jiang Tian killed them on the spot. Everyone was dumbfounded. They pouted their lips and kept quiet. Zhang Wendao took a deep breath and forcefully restrained his surging state of mind. Then he cupped his fists respectfully towards Jiang Tian and said, "Looks like this old man's eyes are blurry and didn't recognize Daoist's appearance. Grandmaster Jiang is definitely worthy of being called a martial arts grandmaster. Don't you hate me for hurting your son?" Jiang Tian cracked a smile and asked curiously, I. Zhang Wendao's face flashed with regret and anger, but he quickly covered it up. He cupped his fist and bowed respectfully. Others might not see it clearly, but this old man can still see it clearly. Master Kong changed his attack at the last moment. He purposely suppressed the power of his attack. If you had killed him directly, my son would have died. Chapter 173. His heart was filled with sorrow. He shook his head bitterly and sighed. This old man originally thought that my son's talent was not bad, and that he had worked hard for more than 10 years. Who would have thought that he would fall in the hands of Master Kong? This is his fate. You know your stuff. Jiang Tian waved his hand lightly and walked away with his hands behind his back. The challenge from the Five-Tiger Village Zhang family was just a small interlude. He did not take it to heart at all. They were just a group of ants. If they submitted, then so be it. If they did not submit, then they would be killed by a slap. Master Kong, we will send you off. Many battle dragons surrounded Jiang Tian as he walked out of the camp. Seeing that Jiang Tian had defeated an expert, they were all elated and proud. Their backs straightened up a little, and when they truly saw Jiang Tian's terrifying killing power, their faces were filled with respect and love. Sigh. If such a talented young master were to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance gathering, I'm afraid it would cause a huge commotion. In the crowd, Feng Shiguang looked at Jiang Tian with respect. His heart was filled with longing, and he was deeply moved. Farewell, Master Kong. In the future, if I, the Five-Tiger Sect Breaking Blade, meet Master Kong, I will definitely retreat to show my respect. Zhang Wendao bowed deeply and cupped his fists. He only dared to straighten up when Jiang Tian left the training ground. At this time, he realized that the clothes on his back were already drenched in cold sweat. When the Five-Tiger Village Zhang family came, they were arrogant and domineering. But when they left, they were covered in dirt and were as frightened as stray dogs. In addition, Zhang Qitian, who was on the stretcher, was screaming nonstop. It added to the mournful feeling. Regarding this, Zhang Lang could only look up to the sky and sigh. It was originally a good thing. How did it become like this? It seemed that there was a saying that was true. One's personality determined one's fate. It was true for a person, and it was also true for a family. The Zhang family had always been hot-tempered and arrogant. Perhaps after today, the Five-Tiger Village Zhang family would understand that there was always someone better than them. They would become more humble and cautious. This was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Zhang family to befriend a grandmaster, but on the other hand, Zhang Wendao's heart was filled with dejection and regret. He shook his head bitterly and sighed. He and his son were both too arrogant and too hot-tempered. If they met Jiang Tian today, treated him with courtesy, treated him as a distinguished guest, and made friends with him, wouldn't the Zhang family have another powerful backer? Dad, are we just going to let this go? On the way, Zhang Mingli still couldn't accept it. She looked at her unconscious brother on the stretcher with tears in her eyes. The Zhang family was a martial arts family. Although they weren't the best, they still had plenty of healing elixirs. If he carefully recuperated, Zhang Qitian might be able to stand up again, but his martial arts would definitely be greatly affected. His cultivation would drop to iron body, and he might even become an ordinary person. We don't have any transcendent masters in our family. What else do you want? Don't tell me you want to throw an egg against a rock. How could Zhang Wendao not feel pained when his beloved son was seriously injured? He also hated Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian was too powerful, and he couldn't do anything about it. Dad, didn't Zhao Hao's dad reach the transcendent state? As long as he agrees to avenge my brother, I'm willing to marry Zhao Hao. Suddenly, Zhang Mingli wiped her tears and said fiercely, You mean Zhao Yuanquan? If he makes a move it might work. At the mention of this name, Zhang Wendao felt a burst of excitement. Suddenly, his heart burned with passion, and the dejection and gloominess on his face disappeared. The reason why Jiang Tian ended the training of the war dragons so quickly was that the strength of the war dragons was already in place. On the other hand, the gathering of the Martial Arts Alliance was about to begin. After returning to Linzhou, the next day, Jiang Tian handed over some matters and said goodbye to Zhao Xueqing. He was about to set off for Hubei province to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference. However, Zhao Xueqing was reluctant to leave. She knew that this trip was dangerous. She held Jiang Tian's hand and said tearfully, "Jiang Tian, you have to take care. Dad and I can't live without you." "Don't worry." Jiang Tian stretched out his finger and lightly scratched the bridge of her nose. He said gently, "In this world no one can hurt me. You have to keep a low profile. I don't have to cultivate. But I can't live without you." Zhao Xueqing reminded Jiang Tian again and again to prepare his daily necessities before letting Jiang Tian leave. In fact, Qiu Gong and Li Zhenwei also wanted to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference as representatives of the Lingnan Martial Arts Alliance. However, Jiang Tian rejected them because he thought it was too troublesome. Jiang Tian left Shenmenge at home and took Tang Linglong with him. Then he set off for Jiujiang in Gan province. For Jiang Tian, he was not interested in getting to know the people in the martial arts world of Wuxia. No matter how strong their cultivation methods and cultivation were, how could they compare with his cultivation methods? However, these people often had a lot of spirit herbs and heavenly treasures, which were what Jiang Tian needed, especially when he might be able to find out about the princess flower and improve Qing'er's body constitution. "Master, do you think there will be a transcendent master coming this time?" Tang Linglong, who was driving, asked curiously. This time, Tang Linglong pestered him again, saying that she wanted to broaden her horizons. Helpless, Jiang Tian could only bring her along. "Ghost Kick, have you attended the Martial Arts Alliance conference before?" Jiang Tian did not know. He looked at Ghost Kick beside him. "Master, the Martial Arts Alliance conference is the most important event in the martial arts world. I'm afraid there will be a transcendent master coming." Ghost Kick explained respectfully. "Rumor has it that Wei Feilong is getting old and is planning to step down as the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. The new president will be chosen through a challenge tournament. I'm afraid that Li Tuofeng from the northwest, Wu Yingxiong from the southwest, Hu Qingtian from the central plains, and Yi Wudao from Suzhou and Zhejiang are all going to participate. Wow, so many big shots. This is going to be interesting." Even so, Jiang Tian's eyes fell on the traditional Chinese medicine book again. He seemed to be uninterested. "Master, you don't have to hide it anymore. Why don't you participate in the challenge tournament and win the title of president?" Tang Linglong's words were full of exultation. She was very confident in Jiang Tian, as if the position of president was already in Jiang Tian's bag. Suddenly, Jiang Tian looked at the traditional Chinese medicine book and frowned. "Won't Big Circle Lin Jianyu show up?" 20 years ago, after he lost to Yi Zhantian, he swore that he would never set foot on the mainland for the rest of his life. If he shows up, I'm afraid the long formation will suppress him. Ghost Kick had been in the martial arts world for many years. He was like an encyclopedia, knowing everything. The Martial Arts Alliance Conference this time will be held at Poyang Manor of Gan Province's Martial Arts Grandmaster Zhao Yuankuan. Zhao Yuankuan is Yi Zhantian's eldest disciple. If he dares to show up, Yi Zhantian will be the first to know. Sigh, what a pity. I thought I would have a chance to meet Lin Zhenyu. I didn't expect him not to show up. Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment. Ghost Kick was so shocked that his heart skipped a beat. Then, a wave of fanatical worship and admiration came over him. Master Kong was really amazing. He actually wanted to challenge a peerless master like Lin Zhenyu. At noon, the SUV stopped at a gas station to refuel. Jiang Tian and Ghost Kick got out of the car. They stretched their limbs and smoked a cigarette to rest. Suddenly, a girl in a white windbreaker jumped out of a Mercedes-Benz sports car. She shouted in surprise, "Jiang Tian, where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to Gan Province." Jiang Tian didn't expect to meet someone who knew him here. He turned his head and looked at the girl. She was about 27 or 28 years old. Her face was beautiful, and her skin was as smooth as jade. Her soft hair reached her shoulders, and her white windbreaker covered her curvaceous body. She had a pair of full breasts that pushed her sweater up and down. A pair of beige casual pants wrapped around a pair of slender legs. She wore a pair of patent leather high-heeled boots. He thought she looked familiar, but he couldn't remember who she was. So he just answered casually, "You're going to Gan Province? Can you give me a ride?" The girl asked excitedly. Jiang Tian looked a little hesitant. The girl punched Jiang Tian and said coquettishly, "Jiang Tian, don't tell me you don't remember what I did for you. If it weren't for me, you would have been caught cheating and expelled." "Oh, it's her." When she said that, Jiang Tian suddenly remembered that this girl was Jiang Tian's tutor when he was in university. Her name was Lin Manong. Back then, when Jiang Tian was studying at Jinling Pharmaceutical University, she was still a postgraduate student in Chinese medicine. She was also the tutor of Jiang Tian's cohort. She should have graduated with a doctorate by now. Alright then. Is Ms. Lin still teaching? We'll talk about it later. Lin Manong looked around nervously. Seeing that Tang Linglong had finished filling up the car, she pulled Jiang Tian into the car. When the car started, Lin Manong let out a long sigh. She patted her full chest and said in a frightened voice, "Thank goodness. Thank goodness I was quick-witted and didn't catch up to me." Jiang Tian saw that she had lost her sports car and was so nervous. She even called herself a young girl. She was so cute. She didn't look as serious and rigid as she used to be. Jiang Tian couldn't help but joke. "Ms. Lin, are you being chased after like a thief because you stole something?" "Sigh, don't mention it." Lin Manong sighed helplessly. "My family arranged a marriage for me. The other party is a playboy. How could I agree? I'm running away from the marriage." "So you're a runaway bride?" Jiang Tian laughed. "Even a playboy can't force a marriage. This is a society ruled by law. There are police and government. Can the other party force a marriage? You're just an ordinary person. How would you know how scary those people are? Not to mention forcing a marriage, they even dare to kill and steal." Lin Manong shook her head with a complicated expression. She didn't say anything and only sighed. However, with Lin Manong around, Jiang Tian's boring journey became much more interesting. "You don't know. Back then, when I first walked up to the podium, I was so nervous that my hands were trembling." Speaking of which, although Lin Manong was a lecturer and a tutor back then, she was only 3 years older than Jiang Tian. "No wonder you hit my head so hard with the pointer when you saw me sleeping. So you were trying to establish your authority. I still feel the pain even now." Jiang Tian rubbed his head exaggeratedly and grimaced. "Of course. Otherwise, how could I control a bunch of frisky monkeys like you?" Lin Manong rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian, adding a bit of charm to Jiang Tian. She asked curiously, "You were really a weirdo when you cheated that time. You actually wrote the notes on your thigh. When I went to catch you, you even shouted that I was molesting you. You're a hooligan. But it's strange. Why did the notes disappear when I went to the dean's office? Isn't that simple? It was summer back then. The weather was hot. I just rubbed it a little and it disappeared." Jiang Tian laughed. Chapter 174. Lin Manong talked about the interesting things that happened between her and her classmates. Jiang Tian's university days were also brought up. To anyone, university was an unforgettable experience. At that time, Jiang Tian was high-spirited, playful and active. His life was carefree, and it was a very wonderful time. Suddenly Lin Manong frowned and asked, "By the way, Jiang Tian, why are you going to Gan Province this time?" "Oh, I'm going to Poyang Lake in Zhejiang to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference," Jiang Tian replied casually. "You know about the Martial Arts Alliance conference too?" Lin Manong was surprised. Disbelief was written all over her pretty face. The Martial Arts Alliance conference was a very high-end event. Those who attended the conference were either rich and powerful officials, or people with special abilities. They were dragons and phoenixes among men. Even if they knew about it, they had to be from a certain dimension's rich and powerful families. Jiang Tian was just a normal person. How could he know about it? How could he be qualified to participate? Don't tell me you want to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference too? Jiang Tian was also in disbelief. "Yeah, I heard there are many handsome young men there. I'm preparing to find a good husband and marry myself off." Lin Manong giggled and said. She was desperate because of the forced marriage. That family was very powerful. She wanted to find someone to rely on to resist them. Just like that, they chatted and laughed along the way. That night, Jiang Tian arrived at Gan Province's provincial capital, Hongcheng. After driving for more than 10 hours, Jiang Tian and the other two were all powerhouses. Naturally, they did not feel tired at all. However, Lin Monong was a normal person. Her body was very weak. She kept complaining that her waist and legs were sore from sitting, and she wanted to rest. Jiang Tian did not care about that. After all, there were still 2 days before the Martial Arts Alliance conference started. There was no hurry at all. Phantom Kick suggested in a low voice, "Master Kong, Tianxi Hotel is the property of Gan Province's Zhao family. It's also the transit station for the Martial Arts Alliance conference this time. Why don't we rest there? Who knows, we might even meet some fellow cultivators." "Yeah, that's good too." Jiang Tian agreed readily. Tianxi Hotel was also a 5-star hotel with luxurious decorations. Just the hotel alone was worth hundreds of millions. However, the fact that the Gan Province's Zhao clan was able to open this hotel in 7 or 8 prefecture-level cities was a testament to their strength. Jiang Tian returned to his room and washed off the dust on his body. He video chatted with Zhao Xueqing for a while and was meditating with his legs crossed. Suddenly, Tang Linglong knocked on the door and entered. She looked a little uneasy. "What's wrong?" Jiang Tian asked with a smile. "Master, my grandfather called just now. He asked us to return to Jiangbei as soon as possible and not attend the Martial Arts Alliance gathering." Tang Linglong said gently. "Why?" "He received news that Mo Haoxiong's grandson is also attending the meeting. I'm afraid." "You want to convince the Wu Alliance to deal with me?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "Master, how did you know?" Tang Linglong was astonished. Her face was filled with disbelief. "Hee, I've killed a lot of people in the past 6 months. How many people rely on me to support me is how many people hate me to the core. I'm afraid that many people want to get rid of me as soon as possible." Jiang Tian said indifferently. This sort of thing, Jiang Tian was already used to it long ago. Back then, he had dominated the universe and made the world his enemy. Who knew how many people gnashed their teeth at him? However, Jiang Tian was too powerful. Even if they gnashed their teeth to pieces, what could they do? "Master, then don't you feel a little worried and sad?" Tang Linglong asked timidly. "A person who is not envied is a mediocre person. So what if I make the world my enemy?" Jiang Tian sighed. "Usually, when cultivation resources are scarce, it's the time of great competition. Resources are limited, but the desire of humans to become stronger is limitless. Which powerhouse in the world didn't step on piles of white bones to reach the top? So what if I make the world my enemy? Master, he is so domineering." Tang Linglong's eyes were filled with infatuation. "Look at the red mountains, filled with the blood and tears of heroes. Look at the surging yellow river, filled with the white bones of heroes floating in it. Moreover, I don't kill good people." Jiang Tian couldn't help but think of the difficult Dao era of the Star Glory continent in the outer space. That planet once had an extremely prosperous cultivation civilization. They could even build planetary-level starships. But later, because of the excessive development of the cultivation civilization, the cultivation resources were exhausted and turned into ruins. It completely entered the difficult Dao era, where it was difficult for cultivators to advance even an inch. On the Star Glory continent, Jiang Tian once saw thousands of cultivators killing each other until rivers of blood flowed and mountains of bones were piled up for the most common spirit grass on other continents. Moreover, they expanded everywhere and used military force. They once annexed several continents and planets. Although there weren't many powerhouses on Earth, the cultivation resources were even fewer. Therefore, everyone would compete with each other. This kind of contradiction was impossible to reconcile. It was either you die or I die. "Yes, Master, you're right. In fact, you never took the initiative to attack anyone. According to the secular world, it's called self-defense." Grandpa knows that you used to be the saber arts instructor of Battle Dragon. So I would like to ask you to say a few words of justice for the Hong family in front of President Wei at the Martial Arts Alliance Conference. Hong Hichu said with a sad face. Jiang Tian frowned when he heard that. He had indeed come for him. He didn't know how Zhang Wendao would respond. He should be grateful that he had shown mercy to Zhang Qitian that day. Hey, what? Your father was also killed by this bastard? Unexpectedly, Zhang Wendao suddenly showed an inexplicable righteous indignation. He slammed the table and scolded angrily. Then he shook his head sadly and sighed. Nephew Tenzhou is a young grandmaster in the top 20 of the divine role. His death is a great loss to the martial arts world of Wuxia. When Jiang Tian heard this, he shook his head disappointedly and sighed softly. He didn't expect that the martial artists on Earth were more insidious and cunning than the cultivators from the outer space. They were humble and submissive on the surface, but they were ruthless on the inside. If he had known this, he would have killed Zhang Qitian directly. It seems that Master Zhang is indeed righteous. The Hong family thanks you in advance. Hong Hichu clasped his hands respectfully, then pulled out his sword and said passionately. Now the Tang sect in Shu, the Wang family in Luoyang, the Mo family in Lingnan, and other martial arts families have joined forces to kill Jiang Tian at the Martial Arts Alliance Conference. Although I am not talented, I have the cultivation of advanced stage internal force. I must kill my enemy and avenge my father. Speaking of this, he closed his sword and sighed deeply. I'm afraid that Kong Teichu will not dare to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance Conference after knowing how powerful it is. That's hard to say, Zhang Wendao frowned and said. Although this guy is arrogant and despotic, he is also quite intelligent. I don't know if he will walk right into the trap. When Jiang Tian heard this, he shook his head and thought that they would probably curse him for being ruthless until dawn. He was too lazy to listen to them. He slowly withdrew his divine sense and continued to meditate with his legs crossed. A few hours later, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Jiang Tian slowly spat out a white light and ended his cultivation. He scanned the area with his divine sense. Hong Hichu and Zhang Wendao were already sleeping in a room. The tea table was in a mess, and there were many beer bottles on the floor. It seemed that they had a good chat last night and had been talking for most of the night. Jiang Tian had a wicked idea. He picked up a piece of paper and a pen and wrote a note. He used a wall-passing talisman on himself, and in a few breaths he passed through layers of walls and arrived at the room where the two were. Then Jiang Tian slowly pulled out Hong Hichu's sword and stuffed the note into the scabbard. After resting for a while, Tang Linglong, Phantom Kick, and Lin Manong woke up. The group had breakfast, checked out at the front desk, and set off again. At noon, they finally arrived at Jiujiang City in Yi Province. Jiujiang was backed by Mount Lu, overlooking the huge Poyang Lake. The rolling Yangtze River flowed through the city. The air was fresh, and the trees were shady. It was a small city with a beautiful environment. The car passed through Jiujiang City and arrived at Hukou County under Jiujiang. The Martial Arts Alliance Conference was held at Poyang Manor near Hanpaku. Poyang Manor was built beside the mountain and the river. It occupied a vast area and had an antique feel. It looked up at Mount Lu, overlooking dozens of miles of Poyang Lake and the rolling Yangtze River. It was very elegant and rich. In the parking lot outside the manor, luxury cars were like rain. There were many BMWs and Mercedes-Benz. There was a hubbub of people at the entrance. Financial giants, local tyrants, and cultural celebrities appeared one after another. There was no lack of political figures. Chapter 175. Chairman Liu of Tailong Real Estate. His assets are in the billions. Why is he here? Chairman Zhang of Northwest Mining. He seems to be in the top 100 of the Forbes rich list. Seeing this, Lin Manong was dumbfounded. It was as if Granny Liu had just entered the Grand View Garden for the first time and widened her horizons. I want to meet the Eight Extremities Fist Master, Mr. Ouyang. Can you make an exception and let me in? Is Priest Liu here? I want to ask him to enlighten me. Please let me in. Miracle Dr. Shui is inside, right? Please let me in. My son is seriously ill. I want to ask for a pill. However, they were all stopped by a group of bodyguards. They couldn't enter at all, and could only beg at the door. Lin Monong listened carefully, and was even more shocked. She couldn't believe it. This Poyang manor is so arrogant. Even these tycoons are blocked. It's as if they don't have the right to enter. Any one of these tycoons was a well-known figure. Their influence in the area and industry they were in was terrifying. Just a stomp of their feet would make them tremble. However, at this moment, they were blocked at the door like little kids asking for candy. They didn't have the right to enter the manor. Martial artists, Dharma cultivators, medical experts. Their abilities are beyond the power of the mortal world. Who wouldn't want to know one or two of them as their backing? Jiang Tian had long since gotten used to this. He only scanned the surroundings with an indifferent expression. At a glance, there are more than a dozen internal force experts. Jiang Tian's divine sense instantly swept across the area within a few miles of Poyang Manor. He was familiar with everything. He nodded slightly. His eyes narrowed slightly as he understood something. It seemed like the martial arts alliance gathering this time was of a much higher level than the one organized by Shinnong School. They couldn't be compared at all. Shinnong School's exchange was mainly about pills. At the end of the day, it was just a semi-hidden sect with limited influence. However, it was different this time. The Martial Arts Alliance had called for it, and there was a long formation to endorse it. Many grandmasters were also vying for the position of the Martial Arts Alliance's president. It could be said that all the martial artists in the world had gathered, and even the veteran grandmasters were alarmed. The Martial Arts Alliance appeared to be the leader of a civil organization, but it was actually inextricably linked to the Long Formation. The president of the Martial Arts Alliance was second only to Yi Zhantian. It could be said that he was second only to Yi Zhantian. Who wouldn't want to sit in that position? Those with higher cultivations coveted the position of president. They wanted to fight it out, and were eager to give it a try. Those with low cultivations also knew that this was the biggest martial arts gathering in the past 5 years. They wanted to broaden their horizons and watch the experts fight, comprehend martial arts, and verify their cultivation. This would also be of great benefit to the improvement of his strength. Sister Lin Monong, you're finally here. Did anything happen along the way? After Lin Monong made a call, a girl with a bright smile suddenly ran over and grabbed her hand, asking with concern. The girl was very beautiful. She had a small and cute oval face, and her skin was as tender as milk. She had big watery eyes, and her tall nose gave her a sense of playfulness. Her captivating red lips were like freshly washed strawberries, moist and attractive. It was December in Gan Province, and the weather was already slightly chilly by the side of the mountain forest and the shore of the Great Lake. Many people were wearing winter clothes. However, this girl was wearing a miniskirt with a small suit, brown suede boots, and black stockings wrapped around a pair of long, slender legs. It was extremely seductive. Mingyao, luckily we met Jiang Tian on the way. We got a ride from him and got rid of those people. Lin Monong said with a doting smile. You're Jiang Tian. Mingyao stared at Jiang Tian's college classmate in disbelief, her pretty eyes wide open. House Chu started out in advertising and consulting, with a few $100 million in assets. They weren't the top house in Jinling, but they were many times more powerful than the average well-off family. As the young miss of House Chu in Jinling, Mingyao rode in a luxurious sports car when she went out, stayed in a 5-star hotel, and wore famous brands. Her food and clothing far exceeded that of a normal family's. Moreover, Mingyao was in charge of the family business when she was still in university. Her talent in business wasn't bad, and she was one of the most sought-after socialites in Jinling. She came from a good family, and her looks were top-notch. Her figure was perfect, and her aura was pure and seductive. She was one of the prettiest girls in university. Jiang Tian was young and inexperienced back then. He was full of hormones, and spent all his time picking up girls and fighting. Naturally, he wouldn't miss out on a beauty like Mingyao, and had pursued her. Mingyao knew that Jiang Tian came from a good family, and had tried to date him for a while. Mingyao, however, matured early. She'd been sitting in on the board meetings since she was 14, and it didn't take long for her to realize that Jiang Tian was an idiot. She'd stopped paying attention to Jiang Tian after that. Jiang Tian had been heartbroken for a while because of that. He'd put up candles and 1,000 roses in front of Ming Yao's dormitory to show his love for her. It had caused quite a commotion, but that only made Ming Yao hate him more. In Ming Yao's impression, Jiang Tian was always sleepy, listless, frivolous, flippant. He was basically a fighter jet in the trash. However, at this time, Jiang Tian had delicate features and clean hair. Although he was only wearing simple casual clothes, his eyes were as calm as an ancient well, giving people a sense of steadiness that was as deep as the abyss and as high as the mountain. Ming Yao couldn't help but click her tongue. Didn't Jiang Tian get kicked out of the house? How did he become so outstanding? Jiang Tian only had a vague impression of her. He only nodded with a smile when she called out his name. Right now, he only had Zhao Xueqing in his heart. When they were in university, he had only held hands with her. It was just like how he had a one-night stand with the superstar Li Huiyan. However, they did not owe each other anything. How could it stir up a ripple in his heart? He's not flippant anymore, but he's a little arrogant now. What gives him the right to do that? Ming Yao rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian proudly. She was a little pissed off. As far as she was concerned, Jiang Tian was an abandoned child from a broken house. He should be sucking up to her like a dog, but Jiang Tian was ignoring her. She didn't like Jiang Tian at all. If Jiang Tian knew what she was thinking, he'd probably smile bitterly and sigh. Only women and villains are hard to deal with. You're arrogant when you're close, and resentful when you're far away. In actuality, many girls were like that. If you were close to them, they'd think you were frivolous and had bad intentions. If you kept your distance, they'd think you were arrogant and disrespectful. In short, it was your fault no matter what. Perhaps this was the privilege of a beautiful woman. However, even though she wanted to make things difficult for Jiang Tian, she couldn't find a suitable reason to do so. She could only hold back her displeasure for the time being. She held Lin Monong's small hand and said in distress, "Sorry for the trouble, Mo Nong. Xia Miao can't bring us in. The water manor isn't giving us any face at all." As it turned out, they didn't even get an invitation to the Martial Arts Alliance. In Jinling, they were considered one of the wealthiest families in the country. However, in China, there were countless middle-class families with tens of millions of assets. The Martial Arts Alliance Conference only had a few hundred seats for the common world. Even in Lingnan, there were only 10 or so seats, and all of them were rich and powerful people with assets above 10 billion. If even a small fry like Ming Yao was allowed to go in, wouldn't the venue be filled to the brim? House Xia wasn't a small family in Jinling. They had a 30% stake in the antique street in Confucius Temple. Their assets were in the billions. Xia Miao, on the other hand, had gotten an invitation to watch with her father. Xia Miao was pursuing Ming Yao, and since Lin Monong and Tang Bao were her best friends, Xia Miao said that she'd bring them in to broaden their horizons. But when the tickets were checked, the water manor was very strict. They didn't give Ming Yao any face at all. They kicked Ming Yao out, and even scolded Xia Miao. What should we do? Lin Monong didn't know what to do. Her face was full of worry, and her beautiful eyes were about to tear up. She wanted to find a martial arts master to solve this problem, but now it was all for nothing. Seeing this, Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "Don't worry, Master Lin. I'll bring you in later." "Jiang Tian, what did you say?" Lin Monong couldn't believe it. She looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. Ming Yao, who'd been pissed off at Jiang Tian all this time, finally found a chance to lash out at him. Her red lips curled as her eyebrows shot up to the sky. "Jiang Tian, what are you joking about? What kind of occasion do you think this is? Even Xia Miao can't bring us in. You can." Jiang Tian was indifferent. He didn't want to talk to her, and Phantom Kick didn't dare to say anything. "My master didn't say anything about bringing you in. It's none of your business." However, Tang Linglong had always been sharp-tongued. Seeing that Ming Yao was disrespectful to her master, she didn't hold back. You dare to scold me?" Ming Yao couldn't believe it. Tang Linglong walked towards the door with Jiang Tian in her arms. Lin Monong followed them subconsciously. "What did you say?" "Sigh, Sister Monong, don't be stupid. He must be lying to you." Ming Yao was so angry that her body was trembling. She pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, Are you waiting to be beaten to death? At this moment, a pretty girl with baby fat on her face walked over. She pouted her red lips and asked curiously, Mengyao sis, what's wrong? Why are you shouting? What's wrong with Sister Lin Manong? The girl had a petite body, but a pair of full breasts that didn't match her age was especially attractive. Behind her, there was also a handsome young man who was helping her carry her fruit juice and handbag. His name was Yifeng, and he was their golden bodyguard. Bauer, look, Mengyao quickly complained about Jiang Tian. Are you talking about that idiot who gave you flowers and sang Norwegian Forest, with a broken guitar in college? Tang Bao laughed so hard that her breasts rippled with dazzling white waves. She giggled and said, speaking of which, his singing isn't bad. It's as good as 5.5. Chapter 176. Murderous intent flashed in Yifeng's eyes when he heard that. He was an ace assassin from a famous international assassin organization. However, he received orders from his master a year ago to protect Miss Mengyao. At first, he was a little against it. After all, his reputation as Pluto was known throughout the underworld, and his pay wasn't low either. Being Mingyao's bodyguard for a year was only 200,000. But in the past year, he'd been living with Mengyao and Tang Bao in the same blue villa. He'd solved countless crises for them, and the three had formed a deep friendship. In Yifeng's eyes, Mengyao and Tang Bao as well as their best friend Lin Manong, were all his women. How could he let this bastard think about them? Assassin accepted a mission from his master, returned to the city, and went down the mountain to protect Miss Mengyao. Wasn't that how it was written in the novels? His voice is lousy. How can it be as good as you say? Mengyao rolled her eyes and pouted. 500.5. That's 250. He's 250. Tang Bao shrugged and smiled mockingly. Bao sure has a sense of humor. Yifeng handed over the juice and smiled faintly. Miss Bao, I'll bring you in. With that, he grabbed the two girls' hands and took a look, taking advantage of them. Miss Mingyao's hands are so slender, so soft and boneless. Bao's hands aren't bad either. They're really small and chubby. It'd be great if she could help me hit someone. Yifeng thought happily in his heart as he walked towards the door with a majestic gait. The bodyguards had been poisoned by all sorts of weird novels, and their work ethic was getting worse and worse. All of them wanted to hit on Miss Mengyao. Mengyao and Tang Bao blushed, but they didn't push his hands away. They'd been flirting with each other for the past few days, enjoying the forbidden pleasure. Yifeng swaggered and moved very quickly. The moment he overtook Jiang Tian and the others, he did not forget to cast a disdainful glance at Jiang Tian, and his heart was filled with mockery. I heard that he's the useless disciple of the Jiang family of Jinling. He's really too ignorant. He thought that he could just rely on his family's protection to barge into the forbidden area. How could he know that the martial arts experts here are all ruthless and ruthless? Yifeng, are you sure we can just barge in like that? Mengyao asked worriedly. If Big Brother Yifeng makes a move, it will definitely work. Tang Bao held her full breasts as she looked at Jiang Tian with adoration. It was as if there was nothing he couldn't do. Last time, several armed bodyguards suddenly rushed into the blue villa, wanting to kidnap him and Sister Mengyao. He was almost scared to death. But Yifeng only used a few chopsticks to kill them all, saving the sisters from danger. After that, Tang Bao had secretly fallen in love with him, and wanted to marry him with big sister Mengyao. Yifeng bit on the straw of his juice and arrogantly walked up to the guard. He said coolly, "Move aside. I'm sorry. Please show me your invitation letter. How many times have I told you this rule?" The guard frowned and said impatiently, "I said move aside." Yifeng's lips curled up into a devilish smile as he said slowly, "Wow, Big Brother Yifeng is so cool." Tang Bao looked at Yifeng with adoration, her eyes sparkling. She knew that when Yifeng smiled, he would often give the opponent a thunderous blow and use bloody methods. In fact, this was Yifeng's usual method. He knew that if he smiled before hitting someone, his movements and words were slower. It would give people the impression that he was acting cool. Sigh, how could a small guard know how scary Big Brother Yifeng is? He's in the middle stage of the Iron Body realm. Mingyao shook her head and sighed. She thought that the guard would probably regret his actions for the rest of his life. Sai, don't spill the juice. I still need to drink it later. Yifeng carefully placed the glass of juice on the ground and threw a punch at the guard. Haha, you don't know what's good for you. How would you know how powerful my big brother Yifeng is? Tang Bao, or was someone who loved to see the world in chaos. She immediately took a bite of her juice and laughed mockingly. Sai, Yifeng, can you not be so violent? Mingyao scolded as well, but she didn't intend to stop him at all. But the smile on Tang Bao's face froze before it could fully blossom. They didn't even see how the guard moved. All they heard was a muffled thump, and Yifeng flew out like a kite with a broken string. Bam! He flew 5 meters before landing on the ground like a dead dog. The ground shook, and dust flew everywhere. His face was twisted in pain, and he spat out all the juice he had just drank. Big brother Yifeng. Isn't big brother Yifeng a master? Why did he get beaten up so badly? Mingyao and Tang Bao had guessed the beginning, but they never expected the ending. They were stunned for a full 3 seconds before rushing to Yifeng to help him up. Yifeng couldn't stop vomiting. His face was terrifyingly pale, and he wanted to cry. This wasn't going according to the script at all. He'd wanted to show off, but who knew that the opponent would be so strong that he'd become an idiot? This guard is too strong, isn't he? Lin Monong was stunned. She couldn't believe it, but she didn't help Yifeng. Yifeng was a smooth talker, and he often peeked at them bathing. She didn't like it. You dare to barge into Poyang Manor? You must be tired of living. I think I should kill you and let you know what the rules are. The guard's face was dark, and his eyes were cold as he closed in on Yifeng. He was really annoyed. Who knew how many people like this wanted to barge into the gathering today? It seemed that he had to cripple 1 or 2 of them to let these people know what the dignity of a martial arts family was. Everyone opened a path with fear in their eyes. Jiang Tian, can you help him? I live with Mingyao and Bao. He's our bodyguard. Lin Monong didn't believe that Jiang Tian could save Yifeng, but she was at her wit's end. Jiang Tian was her life-saving straw. She couldn't just watch him be beaten to death. Oh, I see. Jiang Tian didn't care about this. He waved to the bodyguard and said, Brother guard, this is my friend. I'm sorry for offending you. Can you make an exception? You are. The guard saw that he was polite and didn't act recklessly like Yifeng. He immediately had a good impression of him and asked with a frown. Ghost Kick took a step forward and whispered a few words in the guard's ear. The guard was shocked and his face changed dramatically. He took 2 steps forward and cupped his fists respectfully. I didn't know that Master Kong was coming. Please forgive me for being late to welcome you. Master Kong, please. He didn't even check the invitation. He bowed and gestured, leading the way. You're welcome. Jiang Tian nodded with a calm expression. Then he walked towards the door. He's going in just like that? Lin Monong was dumbfounded. Disbelief was written all over her face. She knew Jiang Tian's identity very well. He was an abandoned son of the Jiang family, a useless piece of trash. Moreover, the Jiang family was on the verge of collapse. But just now, many of the young masters of the rich and powerful families had been stopped by the guards without any hesitation. But now, the guards were so respectful to Jiang Tian. Master Lin, let's go. Tang Linglong tugged at her, and only then did she realize what was going on and follow Jiang Tian. Isn't this guy a rich young master? Why is he being so respectful? Mingyao and Yifeng's eyeballs fell out of their sockets as well, their faces filled with disbelief. They stood there like wooden chickens, completely forgetting to follow Jiang Tian. Tang Bao reacted quickly. She waved and shouted, Big brother Jiang Tian, can you bring us in? You were scolding me behind my back, and now I'm your big brother? Jiang Tian didn't even turn his head. He couldn't be bothered to look at them. His heart was filled with disdain. Rich young ladies were always like this. They were arrogant at first, but now they were respectful. It was as if he should help them just because they called him big brother. Lin Monong tugged at Jiang Tian's sleeve and begged, Jiang Tian, help me say something. They're quite close to me. I really owe you. Jiang Tian shook his head helplessly and nodded at the guard. Only then did the guard open a path for them to pass. The moment they entered the manor, they saw flowers, trees, and strange rocks. The flowing water from Poyang Lake formed ponds and streams, connecting with each other. The pavilions were all antique buildings. The corridor was filled with giant vases made by Jingdezhen's craftsmen. There were Buddha's hands, peach branches, lotus leaves, bamboo leaves, and so on. It was full of ancient charm. Just one of these vases could be sold for millions. It was enough for a normal family to buy a few mansions. The manor was about 100 mu in size. It was built next to Hampaku Lake, overlooking Shizhong Mountain. On one side was the rolling Yangtze River, and on the other was Poyang Lake. I've heard that House Zhao from Gan Province is also a century-old family. Seeing it today, it does have some charm. Seeing this, Jiang Tian nodded slightly. A trace of praise appeared on his face. House Zhao's ancestors were martial arts tycoons. During the Republic of China, they occupied Mount Lu and served as Jiang Gong's guards. Later on, the head of the family came to his senses and joined the revolution. He supported the Revolutionary Army and became one of the 5 tiger generals of Gan Province. Zhao Yuanquan was already the 3rd generation. He went one step further and became a martial arts grandmaster. He dominated the province and had countless disciples. Many rich people saw him as their protector. It could be said that Zhao Yuanquan's position in Gan Province was like an emperor. He was on the same level as Hong Tianzhao from Hubei Province. He was second only to Wu Yingxiong and Li Tuofeng. What's Jiang Tian's background? Why are the guards so respectful towards him? Looking at the magnificent manor, Meng Yao clicked her tongue. This manor was like a royal garden. It wasn't something her small house Chu could compare to. Moreover, with her keen eyesight, she noticed that the jade green thumb ring on the hand of the guard who hit Yi Feng was an antique that was worth hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Even a normal guard's jewelry was so expensive. It was far more expensive than the rich people in the world. It showed how deep House Zhao's foundation was. Because of this, she was even more curious. Why would a top family like this need to give face to Jiang Tian? Chapter 177. Isn't he relying on the protection of his clan? Otherwise, why would they give him face? Yi Feng's clothes were covered in filthy vomit, and he was in an extremely sorry state. However, he still refused to admit it even at this moment, and his gaze was filled with disdain. He was very unwilling to submit to Jiang Tian. He'd been an orphan since he was young, and he only acknowledged his master and didn't know his parents. Moreover, he hated disciples of reputable clans like Jiang Tian. Big brother Yi Feng, didn't you say that you're an iron body expert and are invincible in Wuxia? Suddenly, Tang Bao, pouted her bright red lips, frowned, and spoke with an aggrieved and disappointed expression. Ha! I was talking about an expert in personal combat. The type that comes into close contact with their employer. Yi Feng had an evil smile on his face, and he intentionally glanced at Tang Bao's ample chest and cleavage. Actually, he didn't possess any cultivation in the martial Dao, and his strength was only at the top amongst mercenaries and assassins. He couldn't compare to a true martial artist at all. It turned out that whenever Jiang Tian joked like this, Tang Bao would grin from ear to ear and call him a scoundrel and a pervert. You're really bored. Get your facts straight, you're a bodyguard. Don't talk to me like that. However, Tang Bao had a cold and gloomy expression while her eyes were filled with annoyance. After that, she ran over to Jiang Tian's side and asked him all sorts of questions. Kid, just you wait. Let me see exactly what sort of strength you possess. I'll definitely beat you to death. Yi Feng gnashed his teeth with hatred when he witnessed this scene, and the flames of jealousy blazed madly within him. He wished for nothing more than to burn Jiang Tian's bones and scatter his ashes. Master Kong, this courtyard is called Aura of Wind, and it's specially prepared for you. If you need anything, feel free to instruct those servants. The guard led them through a few entrances and made many turns, and it almost caused them to get dizzy. After walking for over 10 minutes, they finally stopped before the entrance to a large courtyard. All right, sorry for the disturbance. Jiang Tian smiled. You can eat here tonight or at the restaurant. There will be many fellow martial artists there, and it's good to get along well. The guard cupped his fists respectfully. All right, Li Yang. Thank you for your hard work. Jiang Tian nodded. Seeing that the guard had accompanied him diligently and had a simple and honest personality, Jiang Tian casually rewarded him with something. Thank you, Master Kong. The guard named Li Yang bowed and left the courtyard. Seeing that it was a small porcelain bottle, he didn't take it to heart. However, when he opened it, he was so shocked that he almost jumped up. Fuck an essence pill. It can help me break through once. This medicinal pill can't even be bought for 10 million. He looked reverently at Jiang Tian, who was strolling around the courtyard, and said in a trembling voice, Master Kong is indeed Master Kong. He's so heroic. At the next moment he shook his head and said regretfully, what a pity. I heard that the purpose of this Martial Arts Alliance conference is to discuss how to deal with this Master Kong. Should I have reminded him earlier? For a moment he couldn't make up his mind, but after thinking for a moment, he still walked towards a large hall in the north of the manor. At the same time, in a large hall, there was a black plaque hanging on the wall. The words Hall of Brotherhood were engraved on it. The words, handwritten by Yi Zhantian, were written vertically below. The hall was filled with martial artists, both men and women, but all of them were over 40 years old. Each of them had a dignified aura and sharp eyes. At first glance, one could tell that they were all highly skilled martial artists. Who is that Kong Teichu? How could he cause such a huge stir in the Jianghu world? At the head of the table sat an old man in his 60s. His face was rosy and his body was slightly plump. Although he was still smiling, there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. This was the president of the Martial Arts Alliance, Wei Feilong. He was also a transcendent initial stage cultivator. Although he was not as powerful as Yi Zhantian, he had once fought alongside Yi Zhantian, and was now the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. President Wei, Kong Teichu is too cruel. Hong Tianzhao and I are sworn brothers, but he still killed him. Sitting next to him was an old man in his 50s. He had a resolute face, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes. The energy around him was as deep as the ocean. He looked like an unsheathed sword, ready to unleash its sharpness. The Grand Master of Gan Province, Zhao Yuankuan. His face was filled with grief and resentment. Brother Tenzhou is a righteous man, who in the Jianghu world doesn't respect him. His death is a great loss to the martial arts world. President Wei, you must uphold justice and avenge Tenzhou. Hong Junshan, the family head of the Hong family, rose to his feet shakily. His eyes were red and his face was filled with grief. That Kong Teichu is too cruel. My grandpa and old immortal Wei were both killed by him. Another man got up from his seat and knelt on the floor. Tears streamed down his face as he gritted his teeth and complained about Jiang Tian's heinous crimes. This man was the grandson of the Grand Master of Lingnan, Mo Haoxiong, Mo Lin Hai. What? Old Man Mo and Old Man Wei were killed by him? What an arrogant man. Wei Feilong slammed the table, his face dark. All these years, Yi Zhantian had been in seclusion. The Huaxiaolong formation was mainly focused on dealing with the hostile forces of the mutants. The heavy responsibility of suppressing the evil martial artists in the country and maintaining order was placed on his shoulders. Overall, in the past 5 years, the martial arts world in the country had reached a state of balance. There were few disputes, and the world was at peace. Who would have thought that such an arrogant man would appear before he stepped down? Not only that, Kong Teichu also killed my family. We must get rid of this scourge of the martial arts world. The Tang sect of Xu Zhong, the Wang family of Luoyang, and the Chap Guaquan stood up and shouted with righteous indignation. Who gave him the courage to disregard the morality of the martial arts world, kill the innocent and bully the weak? Wei Feilong's face was red with anger. He gritted his teeth and wanted nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. Yet, if he has the ability, he should go out of the country and defeat those hostile forces. What's the point of being arrogant? The martial arts world is one family. This Kong Teichu may have some skills, but he is too ruthless. He is simply a scourge demon. Kong Teichu is perverse and deranged. If he is not removed, the martial arts world will not be peaceful. Seeing Wei Feilong's anger, many martial artists under the table gnashed their teeth and were filled with righteous indignation. President Wei, there is something you don't know. This man is not an ordinary person. He was once the martial arts consultant of War Dragon. Suddenly, Zhang Wendao said bitterly, he has the support of the government and is fearless. Isn't he just doing whatever he wants? What? He was the consultant of War Dragon? Many of the martial artists present were greatly shocked and exclaimed one after another. War Dragon's combat strength was second only to the Long formation, but the military was more powerful. To be their martial arts consultant was not an ordinary person. When did he become the consultant of War Dragon? Wei Feilong blinked, his eyes flickering as he asked in a deep voice. About a month ago, I guess, Zhang Wendao said with a wry smile. This man is ruthless and ruthless. When my son fought with him that day, he used a long saber made of silk and seriously injured his internal organs. He still hasn't gotten up yet. Qi Tian is a talent of the younger generation. How could he be so seriously injured by him? Brother Wendao was also the saber technique instructor of War Dragon. Your nephew Zhang Lang and Kong Teichu can be said to be comrades in arms, but he was so heavy-handed. He is crazy. Hearing this, many experts were heartbroken. Their hearts burned with anger, and they hated Jiang Tian even more. Kong Teichu is already the most outstanding martial arts grandmaster of the younger generation in Wuxia. It is not easy for him to be able to make a qi weapon and hurt people from a distance. But how could he be so ruthless and ruthless? Does he want to be the only man in the world? There were also martial artists who shook their heads and sighed regretfully. After learning about the relationship between Jiang Tian and War Dragon, everyone felt that the situation was complicated and important. The discussion gradually quieted down. Finally, they all looked at Wei Feilong and waited for his decision. If Kong Teichu is just a Jianghu bumpkin, then so be it. Wei Feilong went silent for a moment when he heard this, and then he let out a long sigh and said slowly, but he's a comrade of Taoist Brother Wen's. Should we give him some face, persuade him with reason, and make him abandon evil and do good? When a real man does something, he should put integrity first. Some feelings for his comrade in arms should be thrown to the back of his mind. At this time, Zhang Mingli summoned her courage and clenched her fists again. She stood up from behind Zhang Wendao. She took a step forward, puffed out her full chest, and shouted, Wuxia's martial arts have been declining day by day. Which famous hero doesn't have a few unique skills? But now that he has been killed by Kong Teichu, his legacy has been cut off. If this goes on, won't our Wuxia's martial arts be finished? Originally, she was not qualified to speak at this kind of occasion. But thinking of her brother Zhang Qitian's tragic situation, she could not swallow the anger in her heart. When she first opened her mouth, she was unusually nervous and sweating on her forehead. But the more she spoke, the braver she became and the smoother her words became. Her pink face was full of anger, and she said vehemently, even if our Zhang family has some relationship with him, we can't abandon justice because of personal kindness. As the saying goes, righteousness is above family. What's more, he was only a temporary martial arts consultant of War Dragon. He has already left. As soon as she finished speaking, the crowd cheered. Qiu Gong and Li Zhenwei, who had been invited to the banquet, became angrier and angrier. At this time, Duke Qiu could not take it anymore. He stood up and said in a low voice, does everyone remember that Grandmaster Jiang killed Xing Shanhu of the Big Circle Gang? Xing Shanhu represented the Dahuan Gang and wanted to invade the inland. It was Master Kong who turned the tide. Otherwise, the Jiangbei region would have fallen into the hands of outsiders. Yeah, the reason why Elder Mo and Wei Shuofeng were killed by Master Kong was because Wei Shuofeng wanted to invade the Jiangbei region first. Master Kong is the leader of Jiangbei. How could he just sit back and do nothing? Even though Li Zhenwei knew that he was no match for many transcendent masters, he still stood up to speak for Jiang Tian. Lingnan martial arts was not flourishing. This time, only the two of them were invited to the banquet. Humph, Kong Teichu fought for the sake of Jiangbei for his own personal gain and territory. Zhang Mingli said disdainfully, Humph, that's right. Only a bunch of spineless Jiangbei people would support him. But in our Han clan, we will fight Jiang Taichu to the death. Hong Hichu also cursed angrily. Chapter 178. Qiugong was so angry that his face turned pale. He jumped into the air and said coldly, "Humph, I saw it clearly that day. It was the Hong family and the Shenong school who plotted against Master Kong and wanted to rob Master Kang's top-grade elixir formula. That was why Master Kong fought back. Who can you blame if your skills are inferior and you die an unnatural death? Yuan Qiuqiu, who do you think you are? You are just Yi Gufeng's personal bodyguard, Kong Teichu's lackey." Hong Hichu knew that he was in the wrong. His face turned red, but he didn't show mercy. He scolded with disdain. "You don't have the right to enter the Martial Arts Alliance conference. Get out of here with your tail between your legs. I'm going to be Kong Teichu's lackey until the end. So what if the Hong family is a famous family? Come on, let me see what you can do." Duke Qiu rolled up his sleeves and roared. "If Jiang Taichu really is the public enemy of the martial world, killing without restraint as you say, his hands stained with blood, I will be the first to fight him to the death. But even if there are thousands of heroes in the world, a lackey like you, Hong Hichu, won't stand a chance. Who do you think you are? You are just a young man. How dare you talk nonsense here? You are just an old man. Do you think I will be afraid of you?" Hong Hichu was also a young talent. How could he stand it? He also jumped into the arena. Clang. He pulled out his sword, but suddenly saw a piece of paper falling slowly from the scabbard. He looked down at the small line of words on the paper. "Kong Teichu pays his respects." Hong Hichu was stunned. His face turned pale and he said in a trembling voice, "This is the note from the hotel I stayed in yesterday. When did he get close to me?" His boiling hot blood turned into cold sweat, and his heart was filled with horror. This Jiang Taichu was so powerful that he could actually approach him without making a sound. Even his treasured sword was affected, and he didn't even know about it. If he wanted to kill him, how could he still be alive? Seeing that Hong Hichu was slightly stunned, Zhao Yuankuan quickly took the opportunity to smooth things over. "The world of martial arts is one family. Both of you are my honored guests, so please don't lose your harmony." Seeing this, Hong Hichu went along with it. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and returned to his seat. "Haha, it's so rare for such a talented person to appear in Wuxia's martial arts world. I think he should be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance." Just when the crowd of heroes was thinking of making a fuss about it, suddenly, a sinister voice rang out, like the screech of a night owl. When the crowd of heroes heard this, they were immediately enraged. One after another they berated. "Who's talking? Come out if you have the guts. What's the point of sneaking around in the crowd? Which bastard is spouting such nonsense?" But that person only said a few words and did not say anything else. The entire hall was silent. The crowd looked around for a long time, but could not see who was talking. Although they were angry, there was nothing they could do. The crowd of heroes was ridiculed with sarcastic words. They were all very angry. The majority of the Wulin people were straightforward. Their education level was not high. Some of them cursed loudly, some of them shouted loudly. The scene was chaotic. Wei Feilong frowned and said in a low voice, "Everyone, please don't panic. Listen to me." The crowd quieted down. The hoarse voice rang out from the crowd again. "Wei Feilong, you're just Yi Zhantian's dog. Don't pretend to be someone important. What kind of advice do you have? It's just that there's no need to talk about Jianghu morality when dealing with a madman like Kong Teichu. What a joke." This time, the crowd was alert. They observed in advance, but they saw that no one spoke. They did not know where the voice came from. Wei Feilong's old face flushed red. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. "Who's talking? Come out and fight with me." Many people in the crowd rolled up their sleeves. The sound of rustling could be heard. Cold light flashed. Those who had weapons pulled out their long swords and scolded. "Li Zhenwei, are you the one who did this? Let's fight." Some people thought that it was Li Zhenwei and Qiugong's trick. They almost started a fight. Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan stood up and waved their hands to stop them. But they only heard the noise of the crowd. The scene became even more chaotic. At this moment, The guard Li Yang hurried in and whispered something in Zhao Yuankuan's ear. Zhao Yuankuan heard this and his face changed. He asked Li Yang and pointed outside. Then he whispered something in Wei Feilong's ear. Wei Feilong heard this and his face also changed. He said something to Hong Junshan who was beside him. The latter was also shocked. Just like that, 1 spread to 2, 2 spread to 4, 4 spread to 8. In just a few seconds, the hall was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. This was because everyone heard one sentence. Kong Teichu is the banker. Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan whispered to each other for a while. In the end, the fear on Zhao Yuankuan's face gradually faded. He said slowly, "Don't alert him yet. Let him stay and serve him well." Yes. Li Yang turned around and left. The hearts of all the heroes present were thumping wildly, as if they were beating drums. They thought that if over 100 internal force users and a few transcendent masters attacked Jiang Tian at the same time, they might be able to cut him into pieces. However, Jiang Tian was too famous. After his rise, he killed Fu Biao, Xing Shanhu of the Great Circle, and also the Grandmaster Hong Tianzhao of the Yi province on Mount Garuda. He defeated the Shenong sect and killed the 2 heroes of Lingnan, Mo Haoxiong and Wei Shuofeng. He dominated Lingnan and was named by Yi Zhantian as one of the top 20 young grandmasters. Even if there was only one of these valiant achievements, it was enough for a martial artist to look down on the world, dominate a region, and show off for a lifetime. What's more, Jiang Tian had killed so many powerful martial artists in less than half a year. Who wouldn't be scared? Moreover, Jiang Tian had come alone. No one knew what kind of scheme he had, or what he was relying on. This caused everyone's hair to stand on end. For a moment, no one could come up with a plan. Suddenly, a disciple walked up to Wei Feilong and said something. Wei Feilong's face lit up. He stood up and exclaimed, "He's here." That disciple also nodded with a face full of joy, and then leaned over to whisper a few words into his ear. Wei Feilong sat down again. It seemed that he had gained a lot of support. His face was unprecedentedly stern, completely different from his usual amiable self. His eyes also became serious as he glanced at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, don't worry. If Jiang Tian doesn't listen to our advice, we won't let him do whatever he wants. We will work together to suppress him." Everyone knew that this person was cowardly. He was good at defending his achievements but not creative enough. He had always been a smooth talker, but they didn't know why his attitude changed so quickly and completely. Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, Wei Feilong suddenly said in a deep voice, "The big shot of the Central Plains, the veteran Grandmaster Huqing Tian, is also attending the Martial Arts Alliance's gathering. He said that he will uphold justice for everyone. Old Master Hua is here. If Old Master Hua is here, Kong Teichu won't dare to act rashly no matter how powerful he is." Great, now that Old Master Hua is here, I'd like to see how long Master Kong can run rampant. Humph, so what if he's a Grandmaster? He's still a far cry from a veteran Grandmaster like Huqing Tian. He's just a small fry. Yeah, Kong Teichu is so young. He's only at the initial level of the transcendent state. I'm afraid it's all due to luck that he can force his way through. How can he compare with Old Master Hua? That's right. Old Master Hua is the 3rd most powerful Grandmaster on the divine roll, second only to Yi Zhantian. No matter who they are, Kong Teichu is, they'll all have to kneel before him. When everyone heard this, their hearts were set at ease, and they were unable to contain their joy, causing their spirits to rise. The crowd was in an uproar as they discussed among themselves. It was as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Sigh, now that Old Master Hua is here to uphold justice, there's finally hope for our blood feud. Heaven has eyes. Heaven has eyes. Like Hong Junshan and his granddaughter, Zhang Wendao and his daughter, the Tang sect, and the Mo family of Lingnan, those who had once been crushed by Jiang Tian were even more excited. Some of them even shed tears of excitement. No wonder they had such a reaction. Huqing Tian was a veteran grandmaster who had made his name even earlier than Yi Zhantian. He had already reached the peak of the transcendent state, and had been famous in Wuxia for decades. Although Yi Zhantian had made a name for himself in one battle 20 years ago and had taken control of the dragon group, Hu Qingtian's reputation was no less than his. Years ago, he had sparred with Yi Zhantian on the Tianzhu mountain of the Central Plains. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights and ended in a draw. Later, Yi Zhantian created the Divine List and Hu Qingtian was ranked 3rd on the list. He was more powerful than Li Tuofeng, Suzhou, and Yi Wudao in the northwest. Yi Zhantian called him the most powerful man in Wuxia who has mastered all kinds of martial arts. He is the most powerful man in the world who has the potential to reach the immortal state in his lifetime. Hong Tianzhao, Mo Haoxiong, and the others were far weaker than him. Hu Qingtian and Yi Zhantian were good friends despite the difference in age. Hu Qingtian alone dominated the entire Central Plains and stood on both sides of the Yellow River. Many industries in Yu Province, Ji Province, Shan Province, Insignia Province, and several other provinces in the middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River were controlled by the Hu family alone. Wei Feilong's confidence was boosted when he heard that Old Man Hu was coming. He scanned the crowd and gestured for them to quiet down. Then he said with a smile, "Everyone, this old man thinks we should persuade and educate Kong Teichu. Although this man is crazy and bloodthirsty, he is indeed a genius in martial arts." Many of the people present nodded in agreement. Jiang Tian was the most powerful man in Wuxia who had reached the transcendent state before the age of 30. Although the crowd did not like Jiang Tian's arrogant personality, they had no choice but to admit that his strength and talent were outstanding. Zhao Yuankuan nodded and said, "If he comes to his senses and can lower his head and admit defeat, we might as well let him live." "Yes, Sect Master Wei, you are a wise man. We are no match for you," a martial artist said with a smile. Suddenly, a wave of flattery came from the crowd. Chapter 179. Everyone, you're being too polite. Wei Feilong shook his head and smiled bitterly. This old man was born slow-witted. His talent in martial arts is only average. Back then, he was enlightened by Brother Yi Zhantian many times before he stepped into the transcendent realm at the age of 60. Just as everyone was about to compliment him, he waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Because of this old man also knows that the cultivation of martial arts is not easy. It's even more difficult to produce a grandmaster. Therefore, since the day this old man became the president, he has always adhered to one principle: to convince people with virtue and harmony. The martial arts of the world are one family." "That's right. Old Man Wei is really kind. We admire you very much. If that Kong Teichu of Jiangbei suddenly comes to his senses and turns over a new leaf, we will spare his life. However, if he doesn't know when to back down and insists on doing things his own way, becoming an enemy of the martial arts of the world, there's no need for us to be polite either." "That's right. We have the advantage in numbers. Each of us can give him a slap. May I ask if Kong Teichu is made of iron? Can he withstand it?" "That's right. Now that all the heroes of the world have gathered here, and there is a peerless expert like Hu Qingtian holding the fort, even if he is Master Kong or Master Garlic, he can only kneel and beg for mercy." Although the Hong clan of Yi Province, Mo clan of Lingnan, Tang sect of Central Shu, Golden Saber Wang clan of Luoyang, and Five Tiger sect Breaking Saber Technique were dissatisfied with this decision and wanted to directly kill Jiang Tian. They knew that Wei Feilong was a void peer stage expert and was unwilling to stir up a dispute. Therefore, they could only grit their teeth and give up. With the arrival of Hu Qingtian, the situation took a turn for the worse. The gloominess that shrouded everyone's heart was swept away. For a moment, everyone was full of confidence. They talked and laughed loudly as if everything was under their control. "Brother Zhao, I'm afraid that we will have to trouble you to invite that Master Kong to join the banquet tonight. This will also show our sincerity." Wei Feilong looked at Zhao Yuankuan and chuckled. As Hong Tianzhao's sworn brother, Zhao Yuankuan also wanted to kill Jiang Tian, but he was also a scheming person. Before he saw Jiang Tian's strength with his own eyes, he didn't want to pick a fight. So he stood up, cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Hee, I still have to do my part as a host. Let's try peaceful means before resorting to force. I'll go invite him now." This house is enough for more than 10 people to live in. Also, this scenery is much better than our blue villa. After they entered the courtyard, Tang Bauer looked around and exclaimed incessantly with admiration. She felt like her eyes weren't enough to take in everything. The bamboo forest, the pond, the withered lotus, the withered plum blossom, the rockery. Every single one of them was like a landscape painting that was ingenious and full of interest. She grabbed Jiang Tian and pressed her full breasts against Jiang Tian's arm. She smiled and said, "Brother Jiang Tian, what is your background? Why did they give you such a large house to live in? Who's your brother? Stay away from me." Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her, and directly shook her off. He walked into the largest guest room and video called Qinger to tell her that he was safe. "This kid has such a temper. You relied on your family's protection to get in here. What's so great about you?" Tang Bao had been pursued by many men since she was young, so she had never received such cold treatment. She couldn't help but feel angry and aggrieved. She pouted and stomped her foot while sparkling and translucent tears flickered in her beautiful eyes. Yi Feng patted her on the shoulder and said softly with a gloomy expression, "I'll help you vent your anger after I change my clothes. Brother Yi Feng is the best." Tang Bao instantly had a good impression of him, and she clapped her hands and smiled. Lin Monong frowned and said, "Yi Feng, you can't be unreasonable. No matter what, Jiang Tian helped you today. Don't worry, Sister Monong. I just want to seek guidance from an expert." Yi Feng revealed a charming smile as his gaze swept over Lin Monong's curvaceous body greedily. Although Bao was known as the #1 breast in the Blue Villa, Sister Monong's was actually the biggest. It was estimated to be 32F. However, Sister Monong was tall, while Bao was shorter, so her breasts were bigger. Lin Monong was so disgusted that she wanted to vomit when she saw Yi Feng looking at her chest with a sinister expression. She rolled her eyes and said, "What are you looking at? Why are your eyes so dishonest?" Lin Monong rolled her eyes in disgust, but to the self-proclaimed flirtatious Yi Feng, it was a flirtatious look. He smiled evilly and said, "I'm looking at your chest." You. Lin Monong was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe it and was almost disgusted to death. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? Yi Feng laughed and shook his head. He had to go into his room to change his clothes. However, he didn't know that there was someone outside the courtyard looking in through the fence. He sneered in his heart. This brat dares to flirt with young Master Lei's woman. How dare he? He turned around and left, hurriedly rushing to a courtyard that was on the same scale as listen to feng shui rhyme. He walked into a large room and said to a young man dressed in martial arts attire, reporting to young Master Lei, "We've already found Lin Monong's whereabouts." "Oh, where is she?" Lei Gang nodded, a sinister look flashing across his eyes. Lin Monong had already agreed to marry him, but she had suddenly run away. He chased her all the way and only found out that she had lost her sports car after checking the CCTV at the gas station. He followed the car plate number and checked the CCTV all the way here. That follower hurriedly reported. After hearing this, Lei Gang stood up and smiled proudly. "Haha, Lin Monong, do you think you can escape from me? Zhao Yuanquan is my uncle, and Zhao Hao is my cousin. This water manor is my home turf. You're walking right into my trap." Young Master Lei, that bodyguard of Mingyao's, called Yi Feng. He doesn't know what's good for him. The follower led him to Jiang Tian's villa, not forgetting to report on Jiang Tian's flirting with Lin Monong. Bodyguards these days are all ridiculous. They have no professional ethics at all, thinking that flirting with their employer's miss is the right thing to do. Lei Gang's eyes flashed with murderous intent. "I'll break his fucking legs later." Jiang Tian went to the bathroom to wash off the dust on his body and changed into clean clothes. He saw that it was getting late and decided to go to the restaurant for dinner. According to Guard Li Yang, he could also ask someone to send food and vegetables over. However, Jiang Tian still wanted to meet the various martial artists and ask about the whereabouts of the D-daughter flower. He had just stepped out of the door when he saw Yi Feng in a black suit, a cold expression on his face. "Yi Feng, don't be like this." Ming Yao and Lin Monong, on the other hand, were begging him for something. Tang Bao on the other hand, was looking at Jiang Tian coldly, a teasing smile on her lips. Jiang Tian, do you dare fight me? Yi Feng turned a deaf ear to Lin Manong and Ming Yao's words as he stared expressionlessly at Jiang Tian with his hands in his pockets. Get lost. You're just a guard dog. You don't have the right to make me fight. Jiang Tian scolded, his face cold. He was annoyed to death. What kind of monsters were these? He wouldn't have brought them in if he'd known. Those words hit Yi Feng's sore spot. He might have been an ace assassin, but on the surface he was the Mrs. Bodyguard. Those rich young masters always used that to mock him. However, he'd secretly gotten rid of all those young masters who'd mocked him. Not a single one of them had survived. Yi Feng's eyes turned darker and darker as a mocking smile appeared on his lips. I think you don't have the guts. Haha. You really are a useless piece of trash. I'll kill you with one slap if you keep talking. Jiang Tian raised an eyebrow, his tone calm. This guy had a bloodthirsty aura, but his cultivation was trash. One look and you could tell that he was one of those assassins or mercenaries who harmed the common world. Someone like this might be able to strut around in front of normal people, but to Jiang Tian he was nothing more than an ant or a fly. He'd kill him if he dared to make any more noise. Lin Manong couldn't stand it anymore. He scolded angrily. Yi Feng, show some respect. If it wasn't for Jiang Tian stopping you, you'd be dead by now. Lei Gang suddenly came in with a few companions. He looked at Lin Manong and chuckled. Manong, you're here too? What a coincidence. Why are you here too? Lin Manong's eyes were filled with fear and panic. He didn't expect Lei Gang to chase after him. Big bro Lei Gang, you're here. Tang Bao saw that Jiang Tian was only arguing with Yi Feng and didn't dare to make a move. She pulled Lei Gang's arm with a smile and pointed at Jiang Tian. This is Jiang Tian, young Master Jiang of House Jiang in Jinling. He's currently in a relationship with Big Sis Manong. She even winked at Jiang Tian and Lin Manong playfully. Sigh, it's the same old trick. Ming Yao shook her head helplessly. Tang Bao always liked to do this. She would use others as shields, and then she would turn two groups of people into love rivals who would fight each other until their heads bled. However, these fools who were used as shields seemed to be willing to endure the hardship. Perhaps this was the privilege of a beautiful woman. Lin Manong panicked and stomped his foot. Bao, what are you talking about? You'll get Jiang Tian killed. Jiang Tian was disgusted with Tang Bao. She was exactly the same as Han Yen he met on the way to Shinnong School. Oh, you're Miss Lin's boyfriend? When Lei Gang heard this, he half believed and half doubted. He looked at Jiang Tian with a gloomy gaze, his killing intent faintly visible. He was also from Jinling, born in House Lei of the martial arts world. Although there was only one practitioner in the house, martial arts wasn't very popular in Jinling. House Lei opened a few dojos and had good relations with many rich people. They had quite a bit of power. Naturally, he wouldn't care about Jiang Tian, the abandoned son of House Jiang. Although Jiang Tian didn't care about Lei Gang, he didn't want to be taken advantage of. He smiled faintly. She's just spouting nonsense. I'm Miss Lin's friend, but we're not in a relationship. Lei Gang was so angry that his face turned green. He threw Tang Bao to the side and yelled, Bitch, can't you be more reliable with that mouth of yours? You're always spouting shit. Tang Bao was pushed to the point she fell to the ground, and she was in an extremely embarrassing and sorry state. Her pretty face instantly flushed red, and she felt very frustrated. This guy didn't even want to take the hit? That wasn't how it was written in novels. Meng Yao looked down on Jiang Tian when she saw that he wasn't willing to be a shield. A man like this has no sense of responsibility. He doesn't even have the courage to take on Lei Gang. Coward. Yi Feng smiled in disdain and shook his head in disappointment. You really are a useless piece of trash. Coward and useless. Haha, I'm useless. Then do you dare to hit on Lin Manong? Jiang Tian smiled. Who would want to be a shield? He wasn't going to be taken advantage of. Why wouldn't I dare? Isn't it a trend for bodyguards to hit on female employers? Yi Feng didn't want to take on Lei Gang, but he straightened his neck and said proudly, You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.